The basement, where nerdiness thrives, and grown men rant about toys.
What up, basement dwellers?
We're back, basement dwellers. We left you off on Halloween, and all I gotta say right now is if I think you guys are gonna handle Thanksgiving, then I'm ordering Chinese.
Hell yeah. So, damn, what was I gonna say? Yeah, I just wanted to make an announcement. Our Christmas album is ready that we've all been working on, and it's dropping on Black Friday on all of the streaming services.
Woo!
Uh, yeah, fucking Spotify, Amazon, Apple, all that shit, and a whole ton of them I've never heard of. And just look under Monster and the Family. It is not technically a Monster and the Family album. It is a Bloody Chuckles Studios album, but I only have an account with DistroKid for two bands. So on there, the compilations go under Monster and the Family.
Just
Uh,
as a label, just so it has a little home on those services.
yeah. But if you want to find it on Bandcamp, you will have to look for the Bloody Chuckles Studios Bandcamp.
Just if you're looking for a little more spice in the holiday rotation this year. I know sometimes the typical holiday songs can kind of get grating after a while when you hear them over and over again. You want something that's going to make you laugh. You want something that you haven't heard before. And I've listened to some of the ones, Shovel That Snow. There's some good shit on there. So
Thanks. Yeah,
definitely
we've been
sure to
dropping.
check
Oh,
it out.
go ahead. Say what?
I was just saying, definitely be sure to check it out. There's some funny stuff on there.
Yeah, the whole the whole album is all comedy, and the we've been dropping singles on the Bloody Chuckle Studios SoundCloud every Tuesday and Friday, and this Tuesday is the last single before the album drops. But had a lot of friends from in town do songs on there. Most of them are collabs with some local musicians. The only people on there that dropped songs that don't feature me is most of David's songs, or pretty much all of David's songs, but we have one collab. And then my buddy Denzel, who did the house version of Hark Hear the Bells. But we're not here to talk about that shit. I just wanted to throw that out there for listeners who are interested.
Oh, be sure
And
to check it out. It should be coming out soon. I'm excited to check it out just because I know that I'm a big sucker for the holiday music, but I always like to hear something different, something that's not too generic, something that has a sense of humor. I actually had a question. Is this going to have that Roger Waters parody on it?
yes, it is.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that one was pretty. That one, like, I had like three different Christmas songs I was working on at the same time, and I was like sort of had a little bit of writer's block, like working on those, and then all of a sudden this one just started coming to me, and I wrote all the lyrics when I was on lunch. I was like, damn, like some things just come out of nowhere, and I can finish them in about 15 minutes, while others I gotta sit on for a few days.
Right, Roger just sneaks up on you and infects your soul, kind of like Michael Myers. Um, which we are kind of still stuck in Halloween, but I don't mind that because you know what? This movie uh, played with me today, and maybe it's just because I haven't seen the theatrical cut in a long time. I got screwed with the theatrical cut again because I rented it off of YouTube, but it was interesting looking at the two different versions, how much I've come around on this movie, how much I've heard about the production of Halloween 2, and just the story arc that Rob Zombie was trying to do. It definitely leads to fascinating discussion. So I'm excited to dig in, because there's a lot of crazy stuff in this movie, but then there's a lot of stuff that I feel like does get overlooked just because, like we've been talking about throughout this retrospective, it was the cool thing to do, just to be like, the fucking Rob Zombie movie, where through all the studio strife, like, he still was trying to complete this fucked up story arc for Laurie Strode. And when you do piece it together, I'm not going to say it makes complete sense, but it's not as nonsensical as I originally believed it was. It's crazy, it's weird, but and like there's things about it that I'm not particularly there for, but I could see it now, and that's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, so like always, we ask you guys on all the Facebook groups what you think about this movie, and none of you said anything.
Fuck, guys, we got no takers this week.
When I actually expected this one to have, a lot of people jumping on there in the comments. We got a bunch of likes and hearts, but nobody said anything. So
maybe it's been like talked about to death at this point. That's why this time around I've been trying to really fish for like positive stuff that I was like, you know what? I actually really enjoyed this touch. I kind of see where he was going with on this one, because it seems like only now, kind of like with House of a Thousand Corpses, am I seeing videos that actually give Halloween 2 a fair shake. For years, it's just been talking about the white horse, talking about the dream sequences, talking about how there's so much screaming in this movie, but it's like, how about let's focus on the words that are being said in that screaming, you know what I mean? Because there is kind of an interesting take on the final girl here, where we never really see the aftermath of a final girl. And it is tragic. It's not inspiring or empowering. I'm not even going to necessarily say it's realistic, because there is some supernatural stuff that goes on, but it's more realistic than a slasher movie typically goes in terms of let's process trauma.
yeah,
Every character does. Like, even Loomis has his weird.
every character has their own way that they handle the fucked up shit they went through, and each character handles it in a different way based on who they are and what sort of character they are. And I think see, I love the shit out of this movie. It is definitely one of the better direct sequels in the Halloween franchise. uh there's some dumb shit in it, yeah, and a lot of moments I'm like, this is a fucking comedy. But it's like I said the last time, this one actually feels like a Rob Zombie movie. Like, it's got all of his tropes in there. Like I said on the last one, I was like, this doesn't necessarily feel like a Rob Zombie movie. And what I mean by that is, at the time, that was only his third movie, so like he didn't necessarily have much of an established style other than bits and pieces. But in retrospect, years and years later, he has established his style. And when you go back and watch both of these, you see a lot more of his style in Halloween 2. Whereas in the first one, you can see the bits that he wanted that was his style, and then you can see the bits that the Weinsteins are like, do this, do this, do this.
Exactly. And we did touch upon that in the last podcast, where they kind of loosened the chain a little bit on Rob Zombie, because they did make their money back on the first remake. And then, Rob Zombie had a bad taste in his mouth and he didn't even want to do the sequel. But the directors that they had couldn't match the same tone, because it is such a unique, one of a kind, weird tone that Rob Zombie just somehow produces. Like, his brain just creates these odd sequences that are very hard to replicate. So they came back and they were like, we need you to direct this one. But it was a 3-picture deal. This was kind of the deal where he was like, I'll do it if I could have more creative control and not do a third one. And they were like, deal. Go ahead.
Let's do this.
But they
And
still tightened the collar around his neck a little bit, where they were still, like you said, the Weinsteins would come and be like, maybe reshoot this, do that. There are stuff in the director's cut. That's why I'm kind of back and forth, because the director's cut is definitely more digestible, but it's not as creatively or artistically filling. Like if we're going to use like a food metaphor, like I could eat, like this director's cut is a quick little snack. Like I could eat it up. It's pretty decent. Not perfect, probably not good for you. Um, but you know, the director's cut is more of something you actually want to like bite into, you know.
yeah, the director's cut is very much meant for I'm gonna sit the fuck down and I'm gonna watch. The director's cut is not meant to just turn on. Uh, and I've only ever seen the director's cut. First time I ever watched it was me and Stas watched it almost 10 years ago when we did our first Rob Zombie movie retro back then. And if I remember correctly, on the Audio Theory podcast, I remember talking about how much it was a comedy and da 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 da. But I liked it a lot next to some of the dumb shit. But the dumb shit, I like the dumb shit too.
Yeah, and at this point, the Halloween series is rife with dumb shit, so it is kind of
Exactly.
weird to target Rob Zombie, because let's be real, Halloween 2 was like the closest thing to a Season of the Witch at the time. I guess you could say a Halloween Ends as well. Not maybe in the sense of like Michael. Well, yeah, Michael's taking on a protege. He wants Laurie, like he wants to kill her, but in a way, he also wants to like infect her soul and make her
He
part
wants to
of him.
bring him home.
Yes, and I love that too. I made a note of that where some might see that as a silly line. I'm not big on the ghost mom stuff, but that's a nice little spin on the original tagline of Halloween
Yeah.
Night. He came home. Now he's bringing them all home.
Yeah, now we're all going home.
Take it,
Party's over.
Michael.
But a thing I like about this is it is the it is the most neat. What's the word I'm looking for? The most complete package to me out of out of a small piece of the Halloween franchise. Whereas, all right, so he did his remake with the little prequel aspect and then the remake aspect. Then he straight up did his sequel, complete original, no really rehashing anything or taking bits from other sequels, except for maybe the weird psychic connection thing, but we'll get to that. But what I like is he made this movie so fucking outlandish that if anybody wanted to make another Halloween movie, it had to be a reboot. Like, there is no way you can follow up the shit that goes on in this movie. Now, they tried, they had a script for that Halloween 3D, but nobody could fucking make it work. Just start from the beginning. Through their eyes, Rob Zombie fucked this up, and through my eyes, Rob Zombie made a pretty good ass part 1 and part 2 complete little story within the Halloween franchise.
It is true. The way the director's cut ends, like you could argue like it leaves room, but it really doesn't. It does, like he's Alanis Morissette closing the book on the Halloween universe. Like we just got to end it. And when you think about other Halloween universes, like the David Gordon Green reboots didn't exist yet. You're right. None of them really were finalized. Even Resurrection, which was the end of the original storyline, I guess. No, that was the H2O timeline.
Yeah, that was the H2O timeline. So
the end of that timeline ended with him
Halloween
opening
6
his
is
eyes.
the original ending of the original timeline.
They all end on cliffhangers, and this one is like not really a cliffhanger. It's like, nah, this is like where the Myers family ends up. And it's like I said when we first started on the Halloween, it's this weird, not Shakespearean, but Rob Zombian tragedy of the Myers family.
Yeah.
Instead of like really
You're
deep
here, your
monologue,
family.
it's a lot of fucks.
Yeah, man. But yeah, I love every minute of this movie. I really do. It is great as a sequel to the Rob Zombie version. It is a great sequel and a very underrated sequel within the Halloween franchise. I mean,
It
it's
expands on the brutality of Michael Myers. Like some of the
yeah,
best kills of the series, in my opinion, happen in The Rabbit in Red.
man,
Very
for real,
rough.
boot stomp.
Oh my God. Yeah, he killed Herman Munster. How are we going to make the reboot now?
Hey, but he's still alive because he's also Seymour Coffins at the Phantom Jam.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was like, that's the same guy. I was like, he lives. That's why his face is all fucked up. That's what the boot stomp did. That would have been funny. He's like, this isn't makeup. Like I saw him too.
But yeah, man. So, are we ready to dive in this motherfucker?
Absolutely. Let us dive. We start
So
off. The first note I made, because we open up on the damn white horse quote, and
that's dumb as shit. Because like, I get this shit you're trying to do with this white horse shit, but it goes nowhere. And it means nothing to anything in this motherfucking movie.
it's completely made up. Like at least with the original remake, it opens up like it was a fake quote as well, but it was a quote from Samuel Loomis. So it's kind
Yeah.
of like in the world. You could argue
Whereas,
that
like, this is just trying to be pretentious. This
right,
is just
right.
trying to be smart.
He should have just said, I wrote white educated horses. Uh,
Yeah.
a made up term by Rob Zombie. That's what it should have said as the definition.
Yeah. Like fucking some white horse shit. But I love the way this one opens, man. Already the little beginning is you got boom, gunshot, screaming, title. I'm fucking there.
And I do love bloody Laurie Strode stumbling through Haddonfield, and you get that
Yeah.
really eerie Undertaker bell that's like timed to like every time the camera cuts. It's a really nice opening of the movie, and we have Brad Dourif stumble upon her and like, come on, give me the gun. And it starts off already on a really intense note. As we go along, I do want to mention like Brad Dourif is probably my favorite performance in this whole movie.
Yeah, definitely. Brad Dorff has Brad Dorff is the most you feel so bad for this motherfucker.
Yeah, he's like
Because
just
think
put in
about
a worse
this. So
situation.
the way he deals with his trauma is he's mostly affected by the trauma through his daughter, who survived the first movie. But he's kind of just he's trying to make shit cool. So he's being easy with everybody, da 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 da. But it's still fucking with him in his head.
Yeah, it's made him a little goofy. Like when they're having dinner, like he's definitely more of a goofball. You see how everybody else is trying to deal with their trauma. Like Laurie's more game for it. She could use a laugh. Annie's more since she's the daughter. Oh my God, you're embarrassing me. But he's just trying to hold this together because you're right. His main concern is Annie, but now he has the added responsibility of basically being like the Obi-Wan to Laurie Strode's Luke. Like I gotta keep this family secret and make sure that she's okay. They basically now have to be sisters, Annie and Laurie, which is really interesting. I love the interviews with Scout Taylor Compton and fucking goddamn. Why am I blanking? She's a horror legend.
Danielle Harris.
Yes, Danielle Harris. Like their dynamic is so interesting and how they got along on set. And again, dealing with the studio drama, how much they had to pull through for Rob as well to bring him what he wanted as it was being changed. So I definitely have a newfound respect. When I was younger, going through the anti-Rob Zombie phase, it was very surface level criticisms where it's like, oh, I just can't stand the screaming. It's so annoying. But again, now it's like, well, just get over that and let's actually see what they're going for. It's it's fascinating seeing the new group of friends that Laurie tries to go off with, but it's definitely just a cope. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
Annie's like, I'm not impressed. You know what I mean? There's so much going on in such a condensed runtime. And like you said, Rob Zombie kind of looked back on that 2007 one and saw how restricted he was. And you're right, he pulled out all the stops that's like, I'm going to use the home movie footage. I'm going to use the cut
Yeah.
frames tricks. I'm going to use the music video visuals. Like if I
Yeah. This goes full zombie.
and I'm gonna make it worthwhile for my cast as well, because Daniel Harris and Scout Taylor Compton said, like, even though they had a great time making this, it was still a hard time, and they could tell it was really wearing on Rob. But Rob seems like the kind of director where he's like, I also don't want to waste my cast and crew's time as well. Like, I still want to make something that is memorable and quality, but I got this fucking studio who just said my movie sucked, now showing me my movie going, it's perfect. Like, I don't know what to make of this.
Yeah, so they they did a lot of fucking shit. Uh the Especially if you look at the special features on the DVD, like they made 6 music videos for the fake band Captain Clegg and the Night Creatures. They made a Captain Clegg and the Night Creatures album featuring the same guy that did the music on the Banjo and Sullivan album, the fake band from Devil's Rejects. Like I just like how Rob Zombie puts so much into his movies and then extra media to make it feel a little more real. You know, and then this one, the town feels a little more connected as well. With You got Lou from the Red Rabbit back, and then he's like the little Frankenstein dude at the little thing and shit. You know, it just feels everything feels more connected.
Right. And again, I said that this was before the David Gordon Green reboots. They definitely wanted to establish an interconnected thing with the town, but you kind of needed, like you said, Rob Zombie to come in here and really stir some shit up to get to that point.
Yeah,
And it's really the first time you had odd characters in the original series here and there, but it is the first time like the media is swarming around Haddonfield. You know what I mean? Where you actually see that effect, that interconnectivity where um you know what I mean? There's kind of like a 24-hour like news cycle around Haddonfield and around Loomis and around this new book coming out. And everybody's reacting to it a little differently, you know?
yeah. So we go back. Lori is in shock. She's highly in shock because she just shot a motherfucker in the face. Uh,
And they're wheeling her through the damn hospital. We got a great. I don't even want to call it a cameo because she's in a good amount of the opening. We got Caroline Williams as the doctor. Loved her in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and it's another one of those Rob Zombie touches where it's like, I'm just gonna throw this one in for the horror fans. You know what I mean?
I
I
didn't
don't
realize.
appreciate the
I
appearance.
like it when they get her on the stretcher and she's just screaming. It's like now she's done realize shit went the fuck down. She's freaking out. She's just screaming. Can't fucking handle it. Doctor Lady's like, yeah, we're gonna need X-ray, neuro, da 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 da.
Yeah, it is hard to sit through, and I think that's another reason why there's that reaction to Rob Zombie movies. But now I'm at the point where I'm like, don't you want your horror movies to be a little uncomfortable? Like at
Yeah,
that point is you want them to unnerve you. So it is, you do feel it almost reminded me of The Exorcist when they were examining Reagan, just this weird medical this intimacy as they're stitching her back up, and the doctors are, they have that cold sense of humor where yeah, she's gonna need plastic, but that's the least of her problems right now.
yeah, yeah. That I like that whole scene, man. Just the grotesque surgery, picking the glass out of her and shit, and the stitching it up. I'm
Like
like, this is
really
fucking cool.
showing, like in a normal slasher movie, like once the credits start rolling, it's like, no, this is what happens after. Like you got to go to the hospital, you got to get stitched up. It's also treading familiar ground of the original Halloween 2, like kind
Yeah.
of lulling you into a sense that this is going to be a by the numbers remake, and then it's going to go completely off the rails.
Yeah, and so then we get the ambulance crew, Hooks and God, what's the name of the character Richard Brake plays?
I didn't catch his name. I just, again, Richard Brake. He's the corpse fucker. What makes me laugh, though,
Yeah. I fucking love this conversation, man. They're driving down fucking, and they got him in the back, and old buddy's like, "Oh man, that dude was huge. Fucking took 6 people to pick him up," and he's like, "No, five guys and one girl." But then he starts talking. He's like, "Yeah, man, I'm fucking. You ever thought about fucking the corpse? I never thought about doing it till tonight, man. Her little titties hanging out, and he, what the fuck does he say? Yeah,
shut up.
I was getting wood, just locking her up."
Like Hooks at first is like, that's gross, shut the fuck up. But then there's this long pause, and then he's like, he adds on to the weirdness. He's like, what's the difference between jelly and jam? You can't jelly your cock in the corpse's ass or whatever. And it's such an uncomfortable close up on Richard Brake. Like his jaws are fucking jutting out. He's basically drooling thinking about this corpse. And it sounds like a soundbite you'd get off of a Rob Zombie album during like one of the breakdowns when he likes to play like movie footage. Like, I'm surprised he hasn't thrown this soundbite into one of his songs because it's fucking unnerving and it already gets you off on a grimy start. Another thing that makes me laugh is they never take Michael's mask off, even when they haul him into the truck. They're just like, leave it.
Leave the mask on. Fucking
identify the guy.
Huh?
They're like, we're not going to need to identify this guy. Like, I know he has a bullet hole in his head, but we see that like that doesn't really matter. It just kind of disappears once he gets back up.
Yeah. Which I mean, I have slight problems with with the first 20-ish minutes of this movie, but we'll get to that in a moment. But we gotta love it, man.
What would have been interesting is like it wouldn't have been realistic. It definitely would have added to the supernatural quality, but what if he had like one eye shot out? That would look creepy in the mask. That happens in Halloween 2. He gets both his eyes shot out.
Yeah.
But
then somehow he gets his eyes back for Halloween 4.
Right, he gets an extra eye in the middle. He opens up his third eye.
But yeah, so we get cow. What cow? Boom! Fucking love that crash, dude. They obliterate that fucking cow, man.
The one time Hooks actually cheers up and he loses his concentration, Rogue Cow fucks up the van, and I wrote this down because this sounds like it would be a Rob Zombie album name. It's the infamous combo of the cow and the corpse fucking combo. If they weren't talking about fucking corpses, they kept their eyes on the road, that cow wouldn't have done it.
The cow and the corpse fucker.
So is that the first kill of the movie? I think Cow takes the first victim.
Yeah, the cow kills the first fucking dude.
He turns his head into like fucking mashed potatoes.
Boo, man, and that's a gruesome ass fucking crash scene too, man. When they cut in there, old buddy's dead as fuck. But Richard Brake, man, he's like just trying to realize what the fuck's going on. He's just like, oh shit.
Yeah, he'd be like slightly paralyzed because he can't move his body. He's stuck in the car. And this is another scene that people really rip on because I get it. All he's saying is fuck and hooks.
But wouldn't you?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Rob Zombie, putting myself in Rob Zombie's head, I'm like, what would you do? Well, you just crashed into a cow and now you're just fucked. And there's a body coming out of the back. I think it actually is a cool, it's silly. It's like something out of a fucking like Airplane or like Top Secret. But it's cool when Michael comes out of the back of the van and he's just up. Like this circumstance just got him out.
Yeah, like the fucking crash destroyed old buddies.
It woke him up.
Okay. This man's got a bullet in his head. And he's okay. He gets on out of the damn van. And I like the shot though, man. That's another thing about this movie, especially with Rob Zombie. This is where you really get his Stanley Kubrick style shots on the heavy, which winds up being another sort of Rob Zombie style, is this Kubrick-esque fucking, just the way the camera just shows shit. But I like the way, I'm not saying it's in this scene, we eventually get there. But I like the way, you see him get out, but you don't see him. You see his feet, and then it follows under the car, and you just watch his feet.
Yeah, dude, Michael's huge in this. I love when the coroner was like talking to the guys before. He's like, I don't want that behemoth banging around in that back seat.
Yeah.
Huge. And
But
then
yes, he's
whispers
like
out.
busting the door, man. And every time he busts the door, it hurts Richard Brake more. Because every time he tries to fucking move, man, he can't fucking handle it.
I like that where it's almost like a haunted house attraction. Like every time he kicks, it's like, whoa, whoa, and then he gets out, and Richard Brake's like, help me. Like he almost gives Michael like a little smirk because at this point he's so fucked, like he'll take anybody's help. And Michael helps him all right. He takes a broken piece of glass and goes snippy snippy on his neck, and it's bad.
His fucking head off with a piece of glass.
The sound design there is really like effective. Like I'm
gruesome.
Like, ooh, stop! He's already dead.
Fucking gruesome as shit. And so yeah, Michael just becomes the Wanderer.
I do like the Hobo Michael design when he has the mask on because we complimented the aged mask in the last one, and now it's only gotten more raggedy. It's technically got like bullet, shrapnel in it. I like the hoodie design with the mask on. The beard Rob Zombie look when it's off, I could take or leave, but I thought it was interesting. And it, like you said, he's the Wanderer. So they kind of expanded on that Frankensteinish quality that he was in the first movie. One critique I do have, Dr. Wolfield pointed this out, that in the first movie, Michael has very Leatherface-y qualities. He has kind of this lack of identity that he replaces with his masks until he finally returns to the William Shatner mask. But in this one, he's more of like a lumbering, like a slightly smarter Jason, because there's that whole mom connection that I feel like would have worked a lot better in a Friday the 13th. Like if they made a new Friday the 13th movie and they tried to pull this spin, I would be game for it. With Michael, I respect what Rob is going for in this context, but it's still kind of not Michael to me.
Yeah, it's kind of like, all right, but it's also what separates his from everyone else's.
Again, it is like, is it really a critique on Rob Zombie's part, or is it just a critique of like how far this franchise has gone, where it's like, what can you do? So he's the white horse at the end of the road.
And speaking of the white horse shit, we forgot to mention at the very beginning of the movie, it cuts to an added scene of Deborah Myers visiting Michael, and we have a new young Michael Myers because the original kid, he apparently had signed on to be in the sequel, but he had grown up too much and was too big for the role. So they recast him, which to me doesn't really matter for shit. Get any long-haired blonde kid, whatever. But now she gives him a little white horse toy as some sort of present, some gift. And more on the, I want to go home, but you can't. I want to go home, but you can't. And another thing is we praised Sherry Moon's acting in the first one.
Yeah.
And in this one, her acting is not that great. But I get it. Like, how is a ghost supposed to act? How is an apparition supposed to act? All I can think of is Rob being like, be a little more ghostly. Be a little more ghostly. Like, she's just kind of just weird. There's another thing. People always complain about Sherry Moon being in all his movies. And this is the only one where I'm like, you didn't necessarily need her. This really is an excuse just to bring her back.
Yeah, and you know what, though? To counterpoint that, it's not necessarily gratuitous either, though. So he incorporated her, but she's in this long flowing dress. There's never like, people always try to make the critique of like, oh, look how sexy my wife is. And this, like you said, yeah, there's not much for her to do. She just stands there and monotonely.
I mean, like, all we're waiting on is that ghost mode.
It's basically not even the same character, because even in the opening sequence, she kind of puts on, and I know she's talking to a child, but she's not even really acting the same. Like, she puts on the baby voice a little bit, where it's like, oh,
Yeah.
here's my smile, and a little bit more of that.
Aren't you
And then,
ticklish? No, you're ticklish.
yeah, and then when she's the ghost, technically speaking, she's not even really Deborah Myers. She's Michael's vision. She's
Yeah.
whatever Michael's fantasy of Deborah is at this point. So that could
That
excuse
is
the
true.
difference. I think. I mean, there's El Super Beasto, but I think Sherry Moon Zombie would be a very good voice actor. Because even though it's monotone when she plays the ghost, like, it still sounds really nice and smooth. Like, this Halloween, we have work to do.
Yeah.
She's trying, man.
And these aren't necessarily complaints. They're just odd observations because this isn't the weirdest or dumbest shit I've seen in a Halloween sequel.
For sure. That's fair. I've seen Busta Rhymes kill Michael Myers with kung fu, so I think that
Yes,
takes cake.
exactly. Exactly.
And I love that too in a different way. That is like a straight up comedy at that
Best
point.
thing ever, man. Busta Rhymes dressed as Michael Myers, cussing Michael Myers out, talking about, what the fuck? I'm supposed to be Michael Myers. Get your ass out.
Myers, motherfucker.
So like, yeah, this ghost shit is a step up, motherfuckers. That was the last time you saw Michael Myers before Rob Zombie got a hold of it. Quit your fucking bitching.
So he's on the move. He saw his ghost mama. He sees the white horse, and now he's on his mission. He's got to get Boo. He's got to get Boo.
Gotta fucking get Boo. As if that we heard him call her that once in both movies.
Right, and now that's her name. That was, her nickname all along. It's a cute little nickname, I guess. Like, is it supposed to be like, I know it's a baby, so it's just kind of goo goo gaga ish, but I always saw it as like, it's Halloween. Her name is Boo,
Yeah.
Scared.
And so now we're back at the hospital. We had to jump around because that was a beginning bit. I don't know if I don't know the differences between theatrical and directors, so I'm only going by directors. But if we run into a bit that's different, let's definitely talk about it.
Yeah, I will. When the major changes happen, I'll bring it up. The beginning, like, there's a couple like added shots, I think, in the director's cut, but it's basically the same sort of opening where, like I said, it's lulling you into thinking it's gonna be a remake of Halloween 2. Which, by the way, like, Loomis, like, it's kind of unclear whether he he survived, but he also got his head caved in. He's another one that doesn't have like any damage in between movies.
Yeah, because when you watch the first one, it looks like his eyes are getting pressed in, but then there are the few other shots where he's laying down and his eyes are okay, and he tries to grab Michael's leg, and Michael just kicks him off of him like a little child. And so yeah, like where are we with this? But whatever.
Do a more paint by numbers remake, that would have been interesting, where it's like, all right, let's do Halloween 2, but now Loomis is out of the picture. Now it's only up to Laurie through the hospital. But they don't do that because there are already kind of like indications that things aren't really as they seem. There's a big motif with Moody Blues's Nights in White Satin that keeps
keeps on playing.
Which
I love you.
I like that soundtrack edition better than Love Hurts because, you can kind of see the lyrics kind of like Michael is the knight in white and he's coming after Laurie because he loves her. He's his sister. It's spooky sounding. So I dig that. Fucking Octavia Spencer is here like 1 year before she became a major star.
Where is she from?
She was in The Help. She was in the remake of fucking The Witches. She was in that horror movie Ma. She's in a ton of shit.
Okay, she's Ma. I hadn't seen Ma, but I remember the trailers, and then her name was familiar, Octavia Spencer. But yeah, fucking
actually, The Help came out in 2011, and that really rocketed her into stardom. But there's this cameo. She was in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man during the wrestling scene. So she pops up and shit, and it's like, when you kind of see somebody that you know is gonna be like huge one day, like you kind of start to see the ladder going up and up and up.
Yeah.
She has great chemistry with Caroline Williams in this movie, and I think Rob Zombie just kind of let them ad-lib, just kind of
It
ever.
feels like a real conversation between two friendly coworkers.
Exactly. That's why I
Which
opened
is
up
another,
on
which
it.
is another sort of Rob Zombie thing that was kind of just missing from his first Halloween. Just the random conversations that are sort of out of Tarantino, but it just makes the characters feel more real every day.
And there is still like this dreamlike like quality to the dialogue, because you'll have like natural dialogue, like the one I opened up on. She's like, if you guys are handling Thanksgiving, I'm getting Chinese. Oh, they're bringing that yapping dog over that pissed on my new sofa. But then like Caroline Williams has that odd line where it's like, oh, Octavia, I'm just so happy you're embracing life in this way. And I'm like, what does that necessarily mean? Like, I don't know.
Like what's been going on, and there's a story here that we don't know.
Fucking Octavia's been going through some stuff, and that's another thing too. She's just going by her real name. Her character's name is Octavia. It's pretty fucking interesting. And Laurie's just walking out on her own. She wants to see Annie, and there's a little bit of a heartbreaking moment where she's kind of like, there's a lot of moments in this movie where she's just kind of standing over Annie saying how sorry she is.
Yeah, because she feels like it's her fault. But
and
yeah,
boy, she feel that way later too.
That's another thing I like. She's limping around the hospital, and she looks like she's in serious ass pain. Whereas other movies, when a motherfucker's limping around the hospital, like they don't make it look like every movement hurts.
Yeah, so she has like the fucking cast on her leg. She needs stuff for her head. And she just wants to sit with Annie for a moment, but they're like leading her out. And then another weird dreamlike thing is like Octavia gets called and she just leaves her.
Yeah, just disappears. She's like, "Hey, I'm gonna help you to your room," and then Miss Octavia Spencer come to the emergency room. She's like, "All right, I gotta leave," and runs off instead of helping this fucking patient get back to her room.
She's just fucking limping, and immediately like Laurie almost falls. She's like, "I need help." And then this part, fucking, like, it always stands out to me how weird it is she walks into the room, Octavia walks out, like you said, yeah, weird Kubrickian. She's like one of the twins in The Shining, like she's just walking straight and robotically. And then she turns around and she's got a slash mark in her face. And then it's like she goes to say something and blood comes out, and then she realizes she's been stabbed. And
Yeah, I don't understand that bit because it's like, where were you hit? Where did he get you? And then she falls over and is like doing the crawl thing.
It looks like he like kind of grazed her across the face, but then wouldn't you immediately be screaming? It's like, again, she like tries to say, and I know in real life she's holding the blood in her mouth, so that's why it's all kind of like, but like, what were you trying to say? Like, oh no, I've been stabbed. Like, I don't know.
That crazy man is here.
Like, it definitely gives you some indications that like we're not in real life right now. And then it just gets funny because Michael stabs her like a million times, and then once more.
Overkill, dude. And then when you think he's done, here's a couple more.
Just one more for good measure. I just want to make sure she's not going to get back up. We are in a dream after all.
He leaves the knife in her head. He goes ahead, he walks off. And then they cut to her. She's laying there, got the knife in her head. I'm like, hey, Mike, you forgot your knife.
Yeah, you dropped something, dude. That is a nice gritty shot, though, of like her just sprawled out on the floor with the knife in her head. And then we got the awesome, like, this is definitely taken from the original Halloween 2, where we had Laurie going down the stairs. But now we have this added bonus of like her legs fucked up. So she's literally like tumbling down the stairs. Hopefully Scout Taylor Compton didn't have to do this too much, or maybe there was like stunt doubles involved. But it's a nice, sick little sequence. I like the shot of Michael making his way down the stairs as she's just trying to open the doors.
When she's trying to open the door, she's just slipping all over the place.
Yeah, it's really good physical acting on Scout's part. And then she fucking, what happens after that? I know in the director's cut, she falls into like a dumpster of cadavers. That's not in the theatrical cut.
Oh, really? Oh, really?
Yeah, no, that's not in the theatrical cut. So right there, like, you really got to know it's a dream, because hospitals don't just have like...
Yeah, because it's weird. It's like she falls in this dumpster of bodies. I'm like, yeah, there's no dumpster of bodies at a hospital. Maybe during COVID, but not in 2009.
Yeah, and it's very House of a Thousand Corpses with the red lighting. I do like the shot. But it's sadly not in the theatrical cut, but it kind of leaves you on edge a little bit longer, because I think this is where she goes outside to see Buddy.
Yeah, because she in the version I saw, she goes into some fenced in area and then realizes, oh shit, I have to like go across on this slippery ledge that's maybe 3 inches long, and she's holding onto the fence and she's slipping around because her feet are all wet, and then I think maybe she falls in the body dumpster at that point. But yeah, pretty much she makes it outside in the rain and she's screaming, and I love this because it's like the rain's loud as shit, it's thundering, it's wet, it's slightly flooding in the parking lot, and you can hear her screaming, but it's being drowned out by the rain and shit.
It's an interesting effect, and I like how, because I always praise Rob Zombie on his climaxes, and since this is picking up after Halloween 1, it still kind of has that adrenaline rush of a Rob Zombie climax as she's trying to get out of there. And then this is another rule of Rob Zombie movies. Like, if you're a 100% decent person, you're going to die. Because Buddy is like, yeah, he's pissed off about the rain. Like, oh, what the fuck? This is just great. But he's got like this Wilford Brimley quality about him where he's got this big old...
It reminds me of Grandpa on that sitcom Grounded for Life. I don't know if you ever saw that, but if not,
I'll definitely have to check it out, because Buddy's one of my favorite side characters in this movie, because he really just wants to help this girl out. But then there is kind of a little bit of a selfish quality where he's like, I don't want to get blamed for you catching pneumonia. Now put this on. What are you doing here?
Yeah, it's funny. He puts the blanket on her, and then he's like, here, drink the rest of my coffee.
Again, before COVID, like, here, just take a sip.
Yeah, drink this coffee that's probably already halfway cooled off and shit. And I've been drinking it all night.
It actually has like his chewing tobacco in it as she goes to take. But he's like, I'm just gotta go get the car, and look, and he really is trying to calm her down. Scout's acting here is really good, as she's just like, no, don't go out there. And he's like, I'm locking the door, okay? There's nothing. He's basically treating her like a child. Like, I'll check the closet, but look, there's no monsters in there.
I'm just gonna go get the car, and it's right over there. And then
he says, listen, Scream warned you. He says, I'll be right back, which you're never gonna be back.
And then Nights in White Satin comes back on.
Yeah, it literally flips on the TV like an analog horror, like somebody's controlling the damn switches. I like that. And then, bam, Buddy's dead. Bye-bye, Buddy.
Yeah, he comes up there. He goes to get her out, and boom! Michael Myers he found a axe, got a fucking axe, axed his ass, and she locks the door, and he's just destroying the fucking walls and the windows of this little security guard building.
I might have asked you this last podcast, but what do you think of Michael, like, grunting as he does this? Like, I know it's a lot of brute force, and realistically, like, you would be like, but for someone who's so famously, like, a silent killer. Silent
Yeah,
but deadly
so
like hard. Like, what do you
it's
think of him screaming as he's like fucking doing this stuff?
to tell you the truth, because in the first one, he's still silent. He doesn't make noise when he does shit. So it's a little jarring, mostly because he didn't do it in the first one. But it is more realistic that he's making grunt noises as he's stabbing motherfuckers and doing shit. But it's also jarring because, like you said, in the entire franchise, the man never makes a fucking noise. But it's another thing that separates Rob Zombie's version from everybody else's. I just appreciate all the different shit, even if it's a little weird. Like I can admit that, yeah, it's a little weird hearing Michael Myers. I mean, straight up, this movie straight up does just throws all the Michael Myers rules out the window. You see him without the mask all the time, and he says his first word ever.
Oh, Michael speaking.
He says his first word ever when at the end of the movie when he stabs Loomis. He says "die." So
Very inspired. Very well said, Michael.
fucking so stupid. Fucking a 30-year-old franchise, the man's never said a fucking word, and then his first word, die. Fucking
Yeah, I guess it makes sense.
Stupid.
Die, kill, smash. I don't
So
know.
stupid. But like I said, I love the shit out of it just because it's like, man, I'm just glad you're doing some different shit with it, man.
He should have said fuck.
It gives me more to talk about in these movies than, yep, he's walking around. Yep, he stabbed a chick that got naked. Yep, stabbed the dude that wanted to fuck the chick that got naked. Which that shit is in here, but there's more to it than just that. Like if we were to do a Michael Myers Halloween retro, a lot of it would just be that. Yep, chick gets naked. Michael shows up.
To the point where in one of
Michael-
the movies, like, yep, he stabbed him again. Oh, he stabbed somebody with a gun in that one. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, seriously, like I said, this has some dumb, weird shit in it, but it is not the dumbest, weirdest shit I've ever seen in the movies.
It has some leeway. It has some intrigue to it. And like you said, yeah, I would rather have something that left me talking about it rather than just like a by the numbers. Well, we're doing this again.
Yeah. And so, yeah, so he gets in there and he goes to stab her with the axe, I guess. And boom, nightmare. She wakes up. And this is my biggest complaint about the entire movie. The first roughly 20 minutes of this movie is a fucking dream sequence. So, what fucks with me on this being a dream sequence is okay.
How much of it is a dream?
Yes. What out of all of this actually happened?
Because Michael is back, and so did Corpse Fucker. That had to have really happened.
Yeah, because eventually they mentioned, yeah, they lost the body from point A to point B. So obviously we could say that the moment the Cal crash happened is,
reality.
let's say that's how Michael really got out of that situation. But it's hard to tell because so much of this is part of this dream sequence that it just leaves you scratching your head, man. Because too, all right, yeah, obviously she went to the hospital. So what in the hospital? So obviously Octavia's not dead. Nobody's dead. Buddy's still alive, bitching about the rain. So
I think the moment Moody Blues comes on is when it's a dream. I think Michael really did, like, Cow happened. Even though it seems like it would be in a dream, Cow happened. And they kind of established this psychic connection. Like, later on in the movie, they really established the psychic connection between Laurie and Michael. But maybe if I'm going to pick Rob Zombie's brain for a moment, this is the first subtle thing that, like, the moment Michael wakes up, then Laurie's now in the dream and she's, like, psychically aware that Michael's back. And then she mentions to Annie later in the movie that, like, right after this, where she was like, I don't really remember. It was another hospital dream. So the hospital was very traumatic for her, obviously, because she was.
Yeah, and so obviously she's had several hospital dreams because she said, I haven't had one of those in a while. And it says 2 years later, which I was thinking it was 1 year later, but it has been a while since I've seen this movie.
This is a significant difference. Is in the theatrical cut, it is 1 year later.
Oh, really?
That's one of the big significant differences. Is they just flat out say yes. The text says 1 year later, whereas in the director's cut, it's 2 years. And I'm kind of two minds about it because I think 2 years gives Laurie enough time where it's like, well, Michael didn't come back last Halloween, so she could just be crazy, you know?
Yeah. See, I like 2 years later better for several reasons. One being that 1 year later is the most cliche shit ever. And 2 years later gives it enough time to be like, damn, so it's been 2 years and she's still dealing with this shit like this.
Oh, yeah, she's going to like this for a long time. It's going to get...
brings the trauma aspect a little harder. Like, this has been 2 fucking years and she's still fucked up.
And kind of like the false sense of security where it's like, you know, even though she's still very paranoid, again, like Michael didn't come back last year, so, you know, I gotta take it one day at a time, move on. But I'm still like, even Margot Kidder says it later where it's like Michael's still alive in your emotions, in your, like, in you, you know, and that's what we gotta treat you for. Like, he may technically be dead, you know, which he's not, but you get what I'm saying. It still lingers with her 2 years later. And I kind of like 2 years later too, because it just sticks with that 2 motif. It's Halloween 2. We're 2 years on, you know, it kind of fits.
Yeah, and it's been 2 years since the first movie dropped, so it makes a little more sense.
Exactly. You know, it is 2009 now. Laurie's all punked out. She's working at this, like, I'm not sure, is it a bookstore, a coffee shop? Like, I'm not quite...
It's a bookstore, record store kind of thing. And this character has a name too. He's Uncle Meat, which is a Frank Zappa reference. And then Frank Zappa is also written on the blackboard.
Yeah, they got that big poster of him, that famous painting of him sitting on the toilet.
Yeah.
So I really liked that touch. Laurie's wearing the fucking Black Flag Jealous Again shirt, which that's probably my favorite Black Flag release. So I appreciate that little nod there. I was like, nice. But this is where we're introduced to her new friends, which are definitely, like I said before, her cope. Like, she does definitely like them, but they are not necessarily good influences on her, especially the one friend. I'm trying to remember her name.
I don't know her name, but I call her "What Up, Dick Lickers."
That's what I was about to say. Yeah, what up, Dick Lickers? Like, she's always wanting to go out and party. She's living this weird hippie version of Clerks, basically, where their job is dancing around, talking to their boss about the man.
Like, for real. So there's a what really fucks with me here is I watched a few of the deleted scenes while I was waiting on you to finish the movie. And there's a deleted scene here right before Laurie walks in, and Uncle Meat and the blonde girl are having a conversation about vinyl records. Like, he's polishing one off, and he's like, "Oh yeah, da 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 da," and she's like, you know, fucking, you know, vinyl sucks. It sounds like shit. But you know what Laurie is here at this moment? She's like, vinyl sounds like shit. And he's like, what? It's all about the experience. And she's like, you know how many songs I have on my computer? And he says, you know, just let me die before everybody becomes robots. And what annoys me here is, like, all right, I get it. Okay. I feel the same way. But in reality, all the girls over there working, 6 months from then, they're going to be going out and buying every vinyl record they could possibly think of because it sounds better.
Right. It's,
you know, like, those girls are not the ones in real life talking shit about it. Those girls are the ones being like, oh man, I got the new Lana Del Rey on vinyl.
It's true. Oh man, I
I'm
do
glad you cut the
like.
scene out because it would kind of date it in a weird way.
Yeah, it's true. So it hit the cutting room floor, but they still kept him ranting about the military industrial complex. And I love how she cuts him off like, fuck the man. And then that line delivery, right on, sister. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's kind of like my dream boss. Like when I was younger, I did try to work at record stores and stuff like that. And he is spot on. Like when you walk into that place, every record store, it's kind of the same guy with a hat and a beard.
Yeah.
Just chill.
Record store or local music store, like he reminds me of a guy we know that ran a music store here for a long time, Larry Rose. Reminds me of that kind of dude that just he's not making any money, but he's just hanging out at the shop all day talking shit with everybody.
Living the life.
Yeah.
Then finally he walks off. He's like, "All right, you guys win." The old man caves again. So yeah, he's a charming little side character. But then he fucks off, and
You never
we
see it again.
yeah, never to be seen again. Not even killed. You know, that would have been an
Yeah,
interesting.
and then he's about to within the next 3 days. He's about to have to hire an entire new staff. So that place is probably closed the fuck down.
Right, right. He can't run it all by himself, and Laurie's not going back. It's now a constant reminder. Listen, if just thinking about Annie pisses her off to the point where she's having these crazy visions, I don't want to know what happens with Uncle Meat's record store. She shows up there with a fucking sledgehammer. You fucking bitch! I'll
Yeah, you
fucking
know what?
kill
I
you.
don't know. I can't remember any of the girls' names. There's white hair, glasses chick, and what up, Dick Lickers.
Yep. Yep. I can't really remember the names either.
They
One
are.
chick is more supportive of Lori and is trying to be there for her. But like I said, like just the whole nature of how she got these friends, like Lori is already kind of on the downward path.
Yeah, she's like, "Fuck it, man. I'm just hanging out with these cool rock and roll girls. These 2009 hipster chicks. Fucking damn that aren't into vinyl."
And then they're talking about you're going to the Halloween party, right? Hell's yes.
Yeah.
And they're getting their fucking Rocky Horror Picture Show thing down. This is another thing that is kind of dated because Rocky Horror Picture Show nowadays is kind of like the Christmas story of Halloween. It's definitely become like marketed out and
Yeah, whereas in 2009, it was probably at peak hipster. You know what I mean?
yeah, and the line is so hipster. She's like, think about it. It's so lame. It almost becomes cool again. And I'm like, it's not lame if you want to dress up like Rocky Horror Picture Show characters. That's actually pretty cool. Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Look at this, Rob Zombie tapping into the early 20-year-olds' minds.
Like when I was in my early 20s, I was going to like the shadow plays and stuff like that. Like I wasn't dressing up, but it's just because I didn't have a costume. I'm like, I'd be down. I don't care. Like what?
I don't know about the costumes.
And then
But you almost think that she's worried about the costumes because Lori doesn't want to wear the costume. You almost think that that's a trauma trigger all in itself since she was attacked by a man in a costume.
right, right. And then what up, Dick Lickers has another fucking like hipstery line, and she keeps coming back. They repeat it where she's like, I'm a girl dressing up as a guy who wants to be a girl.
Yeah, which is like, okay, all right.
Really happy about that. Like she's so in on the irony of it, and I'm like, it's all right.
Yeah, it's such 2009 hipster chick shit.
But I can't say it's not entertaining. Like that's the thing. So many reviews try to make these characters out to be like insufferable, and I'm like, listen, nobody's as insufferable as that one babysitter from Part 5. Fucking bup-ba-da, bup-ba-da, bup-ba-da. And I liked her too. That's another unpopular. So you know what? Like again, fuck off. Like I dig these characters. They're fun.
And that's the thing. These are characters, and every one of these characters in these movies, whether they are there just to die, like these women are, or they're just for one fucking scene, like Uncle Meat, every one of them is fucking memorable and has their own personality. There's a lot more put into the writing than most movies, especially sequels within the Halloween franchise.
And if
Yeah, what
anything,
up, Dick Lickas? What up, Dick Lickas? Is your obligatory? I'm gonna get naked and try to fuck a dude, and then die. But you know, I can't remember her name, but she has one of the most memorable lines in the movie. So, what up, Dick Lickas? Character for the ages.
thank you, Rob Zombie, for giving us What Up, Dick Lickers.
That's what I'm saying when I start posting this online. What up, Dick Lickus? Me and Frank are here with our fucking Halloween 2.
Oh shit!
It's so funny, dude. She just busts up in there. What up, Dick Lickus? You know what she reminds me of when she says that? She
What?
reminds me of fucking D on goddamn Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yes,
Like
yes.
that is such a D thing. She walks up to the motherfuckers in the bar. What up, Dick Lickas?
She
I
says
so
it
fucking
exactly
hear
like
D
that
saying that.
too. She says it exactly like that.
But in Sunny, it'd have been like, "What up, Dick Lickas? Shut the fuck up, bird."
Yeah, you bird. The gang gets killed by Michael Myers. Oh shit! What even happens after this? They really just get ready for the ball, and you made a good
Which is
point
like
there.
2 days away.
You made a good point there. I didn't think about it like that. Where yeah, she might just not want to do the whole Halloween shit just to begin with because of the costume and everything
Yeah,
like
because at
that.
this point, she's still trying to get over her trauma. She hasn't full on said fuck it yet. She
Well,
still
that's
needs a
other.
couple more screaming matches with Annie and shit, and she needs to find out the big secret.
That's another significant difference between the cuts is right after her nightmare, before she even goes to her work. I will give the theatrical cut credit that it does give you the stronger side of Scout Taylor Compton's performance in a way where it really cuts down on the screaming to try to make Laurie more likable. Like I'm back and forth about that because again, I want to respect Rob Zombie's vision of not everybody needs to be necessarily likable when this is what we're trying to do with their story, but um, Annie says one day at a time, and in the theatrical cut, Laurie is more accepting of it. And it's very simple how they do the cut. She just goes one day at a time as she looks down, and then it cuts to her leaving for work. But in the theatrical cut, in the director's cut, the take keeps going in just a couple of minutes.
It's one day at a time, and she's like, if I hear that shit again, that's all my damn therapist says is one day at a fucking time. Which I will agree. I get what you are saying with how the theatrical cut, I guess, is trying to make her more likable. But I think I like it better with her still just being fucking traumatized and
Right.
just not fucking having it. Because I'm like, to me, whether or not it makes her less likable, it makes you understand the fact that she's dealing with shit right now and she's handling it in a different way.
That's what I'm saying. Even though it cuts down on the screaming, you're missing out on vital dialogue that Rob Zombie was incorporating for this story arc, which makes some things, even though there's reshoots in the ending, it makes things a lot more confusing later on in the movie where, she's coming back from the Halloween ball and she's all drunk and she's like, the white haired chick is like, you got to take it one day at a time. And she's like, one day at a time, laughing like Annie was right. Like she was being kind of condescending with that. Annie was right. That's still in the theatrical cut, that line, but now it has kind of like no context because it's like, well, you already kind of seemed like you were agreeing with her, so
Yeah.
that's the issue, you know. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of screaming in there that they cut down on. I think another thing that they change is there's an alternative therapy session scene. Number one, they cut out the white horse Rorschach thing, which I guess is
Head
okay.
out on the theatrical.
Yeah, there's no real mention of the Rorschach, and I kind of dig that because it is kind of a stupid line where it's like, "What do you think that says about me?" And Margot Kidder's like, "Means you're a girl who likes white horses."
Yeah. Which is another thing where I'm like, there's no reason for this white horse shit. Okay, we get the dumbass quote at the beginning. Mama Myers gives him a white horse toy. We get the white horse Rorschach, and she's like, instead of having anything profound to say, she says, it just means you're a girl that likes white horses. Basically, meaning there's absolutely no sort of psychological thing about this big ass thing I have on my fucking on my wall in my therapist's office, which has the most obvious Rorschach picture to see. I mean, that's the first thing you notice before they even start talking about it. It's so cheap.
And this is yeah, true. It's like I've never been to a therapist's office where I actually like had to look at a Rorschach test or they had it hanging up. Like it's so like you start hearing the classical piano music in the back of your head, like
yeah, it's like for real. It's like fucking. It's like the Rorschach shit has become a crutch, and a joke.
Exactly. And that's kind of, I guess, what happens when you have Margot Kidder as a therapist. There is something darkly funny and ironic about casting her as the psychologist.
Yeah, actually, why? I know her name, but where is she from?
She's Lois Lane from the original Superman movies.
That's it. Okay.
She had a big history of like breakdowns, mental illness, like definitely not funny stuff, but like now here she is playing a therapist trying to lead Laurie to a brighter path. There's kind of like Carrie Fisher quality to her. Back in the day, Margot Kidder had like very Courtney Cox features to her, to the point where Courtney Cox was going to play Lois Lane in the Nicolas Cage Superman, which would have been awesome. I could definitely see that as a recast. But yeah, now as an older Margot Kidder, just her deliveries felt like a mix between Carrie Fisher and kind of that Jodie Foster kind of, you're a girl that likes white horses. Clarice Starling.
Hey, tell me hey, I could hear the lamb screaming.
Yeah, and they cut down a lot on number one, the therapy scene is completely alternate where as much as she yells at Annie, you get context in there where in the director's cut she's like, I look at Annie and I get mad uncontrollably because she's a reminder of that night. Like she doesn't mean to be this mean to her best friend, but you know, it's a trigger. It reminds her. And there's a guilt there too, because and it grows as she realizes she's Michael Myers' sister. In the theatrical cut, it's very simplified. She's just crying about how she misses her parents so much.
Yeah, in fact, she does not mention her parents at all in the director's cut.
Yeah, in a perfect world, they would have just had this longer sequence where you could have her mention that. That could be a part of it, because it definitely is. But
because her parents were like such nice people. In the 45 seconds of screen time they had.
Crying about the last thing I did before they died is I fingered a bagel. If only I used my time more wisely.
Oh shit! So what happens next? Is this when we get the great fucking Samuel Loomis return?
Oh my god! Like I really don't know if I love this or hate this. Like I love that it's different, but he is so fucking, even in the theatrical cut where they try to like do damage control, he is so unlikable. The way I wrote it down in the notes is Malcolm McDowell is acting less like Samuel Loomis and more just like the actual Donald Pleasance. More just real life, later years Donald Pleasance.
I fucking love the shit out of the the way Dr. Loomis changed in this, because in the other sequels, in the original sequels, Donald Pleasance was just there just because Michael Myers is running amok. Donald Pleasance needs to show up to say shit. And
I'm actually obligated to yell about the evil.
Yeah, it becomes annoying because it's like, all right, when's this old man gonna show up? Why does he? There's no reason for Donald Pleasance to show up in any of the sequels. You know what I mean? Maybe the original part 2, you know, but other than that, there's no fucking reason. And so I like that they bring him in this, huh?
By the time you get to like the Paul Rudd one, and he's literally sitting there like he's in shambles. You start to feel bad for him after a
I'm like
while.
6 weeks away from dying.
Oh man. Ah! As he's looking at the tattoo on his arm. Ah!
Jesus. See, that's another thing. The cult of thorn shit. Please, people. This Halloween fucking 5 and 6 they have way more stupid, outlandish shit than
The guy in the hat and the trench coat that Michael swaps out with. No! No!
No, like, come on. This
I love
movie
the series. I
has
fucking
some of
love
the least out, even though there's this movie, and now it gets ridiculous and outlandish as a motherfucker, but none of it is as stupid or outlandish as some of the shit I've seen in the other Halloween sequels.
Michael is
Oh
the
God.
cult of mom in this one.
Yeah, this one's Cult of Mom.
Do you
Ghost
think when Michael,
Mansion.
do you think when he peels back the hoodie, he's got like one of those mother tattoos with the heart and like the arrow through it?
Yeah, he got that when he was in the asylum.
Yeah, dude, Danny Trejo gave it to him. Here you go, Mikey.
There you go, Mikey. I'm gonna give you one. I got one myself. Now we can be twinsies.
When he's killing him, he's showing him their best friend tattoo. Michael, remember, I was good to you.
I was good to you, man. I gave you that tattoo, man.
Best friends forever. No. Oh,
So,
shit.
I love this portrayal of Loomis, man, because I'm like, all right, he got out with the least trauma, and he straight up is like, you know what? I'm done with this bullshit. It's time to make some fucking money. I made my one book when I was trying to be sincere. Nah, man, this motherfucker tried to gouge my eyes out. I'm gonna make this new book. I found out some shit from old Sheriff Breckett that she's her fucking brother or she's his sister, and I'm gonna make a new fucking book. And I'm gonna get rich. And I love it, man. He's being a dick, talking to his little, I guess they're his agent or whatever. And
Yeah, Nancy, she deals with so much shit. I feel bad because number one, I love this character. They do have a very darkly comedic dynamic where she's just putting up with his bullshit, and they're kind of like, snarkily going back and forth with each other because she's one of those, well, the chart says you have to do this, but he's just like a PR and an HR nightmare. Like, and she has to deal with him like on the regular. Like the whole time I was watching this movie, I'm like, man, I wish I had like a fucking assistant like that. Like she's working her damnedest, and he's just like, get your ass in the car.
Yeah, get your ass in the car. I love that shit, man. He walks up there. This is the wrong photograph.
Yeah, and it's
That's
him
his
and
old Loomis. This is the new Loomis.
It's like so blatant, like it's not subtle at all, where he's wearing the old trench coat. I wonder if, like, this might have been a little too silly, villainish, but I wish they did keep consistent with him having like eye problems, because with this new Dark Loomis, it would have been kind of silly if he was walking around in shades all the time just to cover up his eyes.
Yeah. And it's fucking, he's like asking for all this shit, like some kind of coffee and or tea or something before he goes on, because she's telling him like that they've been waiting, you're late. And he's like, well,
she's like, we don't have time, but I'll find it for you.
Yeah.
She's kind of got like this like corporate goth look, like her hair's in the bob. So like I dig her style. I just feel really bad that this is her main client. Is this douchebag. And then they cut down some of his lines to try to make, like, he'll always be unlikable, but they try to cut down his lines. It doesn't really help much because honestly, at this point, the lines are just funny. So you might as well just keep them in. And you did mention that he does have this weird Stanley Kubrick quality about his camera angles, not in the pacing, but in like the symmetricalness of it, where they're in the center of the frame and there's the steady cam as they're walking down the hallways, and you're getting the shot from the front and then from the back. Like that's really nice directing right there. But then he's saying these crazy lines like, "What are you wearing? You look like a clam digger," and I don't mean that in a lesbian sense. And
she's
then
like, me carpet muncher.
Yeah, she plays along with it.
Because his camera and his cinematography screams Kubrick, but his fucking dialogue screams like Tarantino on
drugs.
acid.
Yeah, on the electric Kool-Aid acid trip.
Yeah.
And then, like, what's another thing that they do? Fucking, there's so many like little odd lines that fucking he says to her, like, when I want your opinion, I'll beat it out of you.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. He's like, if I want your opinion, I'll beat it out of you. Like, god damn, dude.
And then later in the movie, he doesn't beat it out of her, but he does give her like the permission. He's like, "Oh, do please feel free to share your opinion if I'm."
Yeah. When they were in the limousine, I was thinking that same thing. I was like, oh, I thought you were gonna beat it out of her.
Yeah, I thought you were a man.
So it shows old video footage of new Michael Myers, and you have audio of Loomis saying, "Oh, Michael, your mother is dead. She's passed away."
I wish it was your voice doing it. He passed away.
He's passed away. She's dead.
She did. She fucking killed herself.
She shot herself right in the face when your sister was a baby. Bled all over the baby.
And she pulled the trigger. And Michael's like, she'll be back, but I won't see you.
Yeah, you won't be back. Oh, don't lie to yourself, Michael.
Shut the fuck up, Michael. You know she's dead.
So then he's like, he gets on there and he's trying to make jokes to this crowd on his little press tour,
and it's just like crickets.
Yeah, and he's like, and it's like the most dumb sort of therapist humor where he's like, yes, he would not accept the fact that his mother has died. Freud would have a field day with that one. And like everyone's like, yeah, I've heard Freud jokes for 50, 60 years.
To the point where even like modern therapists nowadays are like, fuck Freud. Like, we don't even.
I'm talking about him.
Like, that a lot of those kind of clunker jokes are cut out just for time in the theatrical cut. He just kind of goes up there after the thing plays and he's like, it still kind of shows that he's a huckster because he has nothing really to say. He's like, thank you, and then it cuts and he's like, any questions? Like, it jumps straight to the Q&A, and then it immediately goes to like, do you feel personally responsible for the deaths of the 15 victims?
Damn, so they cut out a lot of shit then, because like he gets on there and he talks about this pretentious quote, and then he adds a little bit onto it. He's like, I'm going to add a little bit of a Dr. Loomis twist on it at the end. And it's some quote, da-da-da-da-da, and he's like, he throws Michael Myers' name in there, and he's like, yeah, that's the twist. That's the Loomis twist. Any questions?
Yeah, and it's in really bad taste. I think I remember the line you're talking about. I can't remember it verbatim, but like he adds Michael Myers' name as like the punchline to like the reiteration of the quote, and then he jumps to the questions, and he's trying to keep like again that therapist or like that corporate sort of fake nice. Oh well, they have my deepest sympathy. You see, he does it several times in this movie where he turns it on, that performative aspect like a switch, like, oh, listen, whoa. I, feel horrible. It's terrible, really, what happened. But do I feel personally responsible? No.
No, I was almost a victim myself. Look, almost, bro. Almost. But
this is where the eye damage would have helped him out a little bit, where maybe his eyes are fine, but he's still walking around with the shades, like trying to play the victim. You know what I mean?
He gouged my eyes out, but I can still see.
I'm blind, damn it. He's walking around with the cane, and Nancy knows it's bullshit. Oh, I'm bumping into the fuck. He hates the old Loomis picture, so he purposefully bumps into it. Oh no, it fell over.
What is this? Well, how do you know that's the old Loomis picture? Oh, I don't know. I'm blind. I just have my sixth sense is telling me that you put the wrong photograph here.
He has to pour the tea on his crotch to fucking convince me. Oh, that's sizzling hot. Oh.
I'm selling the sizzle.
I'm selling the sizzle, not the steak.
So he says it. I love it when he's like, let me make one thing perfectly sparkling clear. Michael Myers is dead.
And then fucking
cut to homeless Michael Myers wandering through a field in Georgia.
and with the way the shot is, because they also have later in the movie like that swooping shot of Michael in the field. They should have just had "I got to run to keep from hiding."
Yes, we got homeless Michael Myers wandering through a field. This is where you start to really get ghost mama apparition shit, and like he's like walking toward a barn. And I love that shot, right? Because it shows there's a shot where like it's dark, and then you got Sherry Moon, man. There's fog all over the place, and she's just ghostly walking to the to this barn.
And with the way her dress is, you can kind of already just hear like "living dead girl."
Right, dude. That's exactly what she'd be looking like, is living dead girl. Rage on the stage and there. Oh,
Scary sounds. But he does that Kubrick symmetry again, where it's the little Michael, then the bearded Michael, and the little Michael's talking for bearded Michael.
yeah.
But one thing I wanted to mention before we continued with this scene is, did you ever see the fucking Phalis review of this movie?
You know, maybe a long time ago. But you know, I don't remember nothing about most of those guys.
He really ripped this movie a new asshole, but one thing that I will give like Phalis credit for, like he made me laugh my ass off with just the little edits he would do to the movies just to make them a little doofier, like with his sense of humor. And they took that scene where he's yelling at them like, "Do I have to spell it out for you, bunch of gossip mongers?"
Yeah, DEAD.
Yeah, he took it and he's like, "Michael Myers is fucking dead. DEED." He repeated the E. I kind of wish that was really in the movie. He's fucking deed.
DED. Dead.
Dead. And that's also kind of a throwback to a nice little callback to Clockwork Orange. "Let me make this nice and sparkling clear." Because that's kind of a line that Alex says in
I was Caligula, goddammit.
"Are we clear?" as he says it to his droogies, and I think one of them goes like, "Sparkling."
Yeah, and we're going out for a bit of the old in out.
Drink of the old Morocco Plus.
Little bit of the old ultraviolets.
And I want it sizzling hot, please.
I was cured, all right.
Yeah, he was. I was making a bunch of money.
But yeah, so like when a lot of these homeless Myers ghost mom apparition sequences are sort of lost on me in chronological order. So I'm just gonna like mention a few. When you really get the Rob Zombie Kubrick shit heavily is in a lot of the ghost mom apparition bits, where especially I love the one where they walk in the barn and there's this weird Alice in Wonderland fucking table with like these Halloween costume motherfuckers. And
Rory's on the table and they're like, "We found Boo." I actually really like the sequence. This is another thing that people really throw shade at. And I know it might sound silly, but I really do like the skeleton Michael.
Yeah, the skeleton with the Myers mask and shit. Like, it's so fucking cool, man.
I know it's technically edgy because, like, it's dark, so you can't really see it, but he's in the Jesus pose and there's kind of a cross holding him up that's like shaded out. But as just like a floating skeleton, there's like this with that face on it. Number one, it sells the idea that like this side of Michael's personality, like that's the shape. He's just this amorphous fucking shape. And that's unnerving. But then there's also like, it gave me like Dahmer vibes. You know what I mean? That it's like the skeleton that's just like hanging there, almost like art. It's unnerving. And then, yeah, I like the little music video quality of you have these weird characters, these bulbous, these fast and bulbous characters.
What is this? What are these things? It's like, it starts off looking like The Last Supper, but then kind of like has this Alice in Wonderland vibe, just the dinner scene.
They're like living pumpkins or something. Like, I don't know. They're just very round beings.
Which is a touch I think is awesome, where I'm like, you know what? this is a Rob Zombie movie all the way. It's not fucking Rob Zombie remaking Halloween. It's Rob Zombie doing his own sequel to his remake.
Because it still has like a Halloween spooky vibe. And then also you said it like that these dream sequences have that Kubrickian quality to it in terms of
everything's like placed like all perfectly, and like you said, it's all very symmetrical. And
but they also have a little bit of that House of a Thousand Corpses quality to it too, because they do the cutting frames thing where you see Michael walking and you could tell that it's like not slow-mo, but they took a couple of frames out to make it choppy, which I love the camera quality in this movie. It's a very grimy ass, but not too dark. Like when things are dark, it's this very gross blue, you know, so it's nice looking.
And it's like snowing inside the barn.
Yeah, every time fucking, because at the beginning of the movie, Deborah shows up during the winter time. She's walking through the snow. So she's this weird kind of like ice queen whenever she shows up.
Yeah, with a horse.
With a horse. What else was I thinking of with these dream sequences? Yeah, they do the cutting frames trick, and then they also do it where it speeds up really fast and the fucking hands come out and grab fucking Laurie.
Yeah. A nice jump scare. Dead ass for real. A nice, decent little Rob Zombie jump scare. The hands grab her, and she's, I can't handle this. But yeah, he's like Rob Zombie, man. His style is if you take Kubrick and fucking Tarantino, threw in a little dash of Robert Rodriguez, and they just made horror movies.
Just horror movies. Yeah, even like the last shot of the movie is straight out of Clockwork Orange with Laurie looking at the camera, and then even exactly like
Orange or Psycho. I was always calling back to Psycho on that, but yeah, I get you on the Clockwork Orange because he throws a lot of Clockwork Orange imagery in his little which song is it? It's on his album Sinister Urge.
Red Groovy, yeah.
That one. Go to California.
Cat Flash, a horror show.
Yeah.
To the honky boots and the ultra light. Something like that, yeah. I love that where he's straight up dressed like Alex DeLarge in that music video, and they recreate the shot again of him sitting in the book, staring down. It's the Kubrick stare is what it became known as, because Jack does it in The Shining.
A lot of his movies with Gomer Pyle or Private Pyle on a goddamn
Full Metal Jacket, yeah. Kind of just shows the unhingedness because it's like all in the eyes and the face going down, the way the lighting hits it. I love that.
What happens next? We're introduced back to Loomis, and he's a dick. Is this the dinner scene? Well, not necessarily. It's not the dinner scene yet. Are we at the point where the rednecks come to get Michael Myers off of their property?
Yeah, and I'm sure I think the one guy, Daddy, he looks like the guy who played fucking Flash. I think that's the character's name. He played one of the crooked detectives in fucking Batman Begins, I think. Which that's two Batman Begins alumni in this movie, because Richard Brake played fucking the guy who plays the guy who killed Bruce Wayne's parents.
Really? I've never seen Batman Begins, so.
Yeah, if you ever check it out, like when they get to that back alley, it's the corpse fucker, Richard Brake. Well, now he's part of the Firefly family. He's Otis's brother. He fucking has the mustache and he puts up the gun like, wallets, jewelry. Come on, fast.
Hell no. So fucking Michael is just wandering around the field, and you get these two rednecks and a lady. I told this damn homeless motherfucker to get off of the property and not come around, and we're gonna teach him a lesson. So I'm like, okay, y'all are in a big ass fucking redneck truck with like 18 sets of antlers on the hood, on the grill. Why didn't you just run him down if y'all are gonna beat him to a pulp anyway? But no, you stop You get out, and you got to talk a lot of shit to this fucking 7-foot tall motherfucker.
And then beat him with a pipe. And then even the girl in the situation, like, she's kind of sympathetic, but she's still, like, kind of letting them do it. But she's like, enough, you don't want to fucking kill him. And then she's, like, apologizing to him as they walk away.
Yeah, they beat the shit out of him with a bat. Her old buddy beats him with a bat. And Myers is just playing dead. She's like, oh my God, I'm sorry. Like, all right, let's get out of here. She's like, what, we're just going to leave him? Yeah, let's get out of here. Okay, just going to leave this motherfucker on your property. You know?
You can hear the banjo go as they start to fucking run away. Yoo-hoo! But then he gets up and he immediately fucking kills these dudes.
Yeah, like they get up, he just fucking kills the shit out of them, puts the one dude on the antlers, and girls in the car screaming, "No, Daddy, no!" And Michael busts into the damn car and he starts pulling her out, and she's like, "No, I was apologizing."
Yeah, and then fucking, I really like the foggy, silhouetted shots of Michael walking through the fields in this movie, especially here where it's like, you see what's going on, but it's this nice kind of like moonlit killing as he's fucking stabbing her. And then we get something that expands on something from the original. We finally actually see Michael Myers eat a dog.
Yeah, so he gets the dog and
it's kind of creepy. There's a little bit of that child Michael as he's putting the knife against the damn cage. It kind of reminds me of when he was with Elvis at the beginning of the first remake.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the original Halloween, they go into the Myers house, the cop and Donald Pleasance, and they find a dead dog. And it's kind of like a throwaway line. There's a dead dog in here. And Loomis is like, oh, he got hungry. And so, like, you don't see it. So Mike, I could definitely see Rob Zombie. Like, I want to see him eat a fucking dog.
Yeah. So yeah, earlier Sheriff Brackett is headed to work, and Annie's all like talking about the kind of pizza he's supposed to bring home that has like no meat on it because I guess Laurie's a vegetarian now. But
yeah, you want the fucking whole wheat crust. You can't forget that. With all this stuff that Sheriff Brackett's got on his table, like he has to remember the pizza. And I love that he still tries to make a joke on it. He's like, why don't we just... Because I've heard dads make jokes like this before, especially with old Domino's, where like, oh, they just put cardboard, on it.
Yeah, let's just put cheese on the cardboard. It's got a lot of fiber in it.
Yeah, and then they have the pizza later, and this is kind of like another thing. The second instance of like the psychic connection between Laurie is like even like their stomachs are connected in a weird way.
This is weird because like this is the thing I love about the movie is that it doesn't spell shit out for you. It doesn't feel the need to explain everything, which I do like, but then at the same time, some of the stuff that isn't necessarily explained kind of doesn't really go anywhere. Or in a way, because like, yeah, this is some sort of weird psychic connection. He's eating the dog and she's throwing up. So he eats and she throws up. It's just weird.
Yeah, and then she leans on Annie, and I love Daniel Harris's reaction where it's like she's there for Laurie, but she's like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing now.
Yeah.
That was like a cool little Friends touch. It's like, you're just getting vom on my shirt now. But before that, we got a couple of dad jokes from Brad Dourif, because number one, he's talking about this old Western where he's like, oh, this guy's talking about being a gunslinger, and he misses the barn.
Misses
the movie he's referencing, but I would want to check it out. It sounds like it would be a fun one for that one scene. But then he also
make me feel old.
I love the fucking dad. Yeah, older than Methuselah.
Yeah.
He then does the fucking
we're still cavemen.
Yeah,
We're still
the caveman thing. And then he also does who's Marvin when you say starving like Marvin?
Yeah, you know what? That's weird to me because like my only connection to a starving Marvin is South Park.
Yeah, I grew up with that statement. Like I've heard "Starvin' Like Marvin" before, and that in that moment I wrote down like Brackett is just me at the end of the day, asking the important questions, growing a crazy beard.
Yeah, because it's like, starving Marvin, like I'm starving like Marvin. I've never heard it like that. I've only ever heard. I think he said his name is Marvin. Yeah, starving Marvin. From the old South Park Thanksgiving special. That's
Yeah,
the only other time I've ever heard starving Marvin was on South Park. So I don't know if this is a Starvin Marvin South Park reference or if this is a thing people actually say, because I've never heard anyone say that outside of South Park.
yeah. Growing up having dinner, like my mom would say "Starvin' Like Marvin" and stuff like that. So it's definitely just like a phrase that goes.
Sasha just told me that it is a little phrase, but I've never heard anyone say it other than first time I ever heard it was on South Park, and anytime I've ever heard anyone say it, it's been as a reference to South Park.
But like you said, now fucking Rob Zombie gives us even this to talk about. You know what I mean? Because who is? I would think that too. When I'm at work thinking of like nothing, just trying to keep my mind occupied, that would be some random ADD shit. Who's Marvin? Murder She Wrote. I remember saying that on an episode of Crew Boys. Me and Mo were just both at the same time. Who's she anyway?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Who is she and what murder did she write about? But yeah, see, it's these conversations that make these motherfuckers just feel like real, and Sheriff Brackett's just doing his best to hold everything together and try to keep everybody and when you think about it, everyone suffered their own different trauma. A big trauma from Lori is her friends getting killed and then being chased around a house and then having to shoot a motherfucker in the face. Uh, Annie's trauma is very much different. She was just slashed like a motherfucker. Her boyfriend hung up on the damn lights in the house, and she's dealing with her trauma very silently because she can't wear it on the outside because she has to kind of hold it together because of her dad, who is also holding his on the inside, and she's got to deal with Lori's outbursts and shit. So she really doesn't have time to express her trauma. She's dealing with it silently. She's kind of just holding it in there and just moving on.
And without her mom, like Annie is weirdly like the mom of the household because you even hear when Sheriff Brackett's at work, he's smoking a cigarette, like, oh, if Annie caught me with this, like she'd kill me. Like she has say over fucking his life because he's so shaken by what happened too. Everybody's on shaky ground.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't really he's the chief of police, but even he doesn't really have authority in this household. Like he's really Annie's really his rock. And that's another thing that I actually don't like about the theatrical cut that they change is how he reacts to when she eventually dies. Because when he loses not only just a daughter, but just that rock. Like again, I know it's kind of silly the noises that he makes, but I made a comment about this, I think, on Wolfula's video, that Brad Dourif's giving it his all. Like this guy's fucking crumbling his whole life right before him. Like, and he avoided this once. Like, she got slashed up once and he got lucky. He didn't want this to happen again. And it's cutting to the home video footage of like what his little girl once was versus now what Michael Myers has made it. So he's sitting there sobbing. And yeah, it sounds fucking weird, but it's because it's that raw emotion just falling out of him. And then the dark side happens. It builds into this boiling rage. I love when he starts fucking slamming the ground. No! He does like a Chucky no. No!
Give me the power, I beg of you.
Ends. Before like the David Gordon Green movies, like this was the first time, aside from some odd characters here and there in the original series, this is the first time showing like the effects Michael Myers has on the town as a whole and how he changes people's lives.
Yeah, and the parents of the characters killed, which you never see any of that in slashers at all. Like,
And
how
if
does
it
it affect the
happens,
family?
the parents usually, the parents have to usually keep calm and collected. We have to figure out what happened. You know what I mean? But here it's more realistic. Where no, your kid's dead. You're fucking in the theatrical cut. It's I guess people could say the director's cut is dramatic, but I think the theatrical cut version of it is so stock. Like I didn't mind it, but it's just more of a paint by numbers reacting to a movie death where he stumbles in. He has this one great moment where he's like Batman. He's like, "Where is she?" He's like, "Chief, you don't want to see this." But then it just cuts to slow motion. We don't hear him cry at all. You're just kind of watching his face as he's like, no, there's no home footage. It just kind of fades to him kind of like lying on the floor as they're like walking him out, and it's all kind of in like silent slow-mo, and I'm like, I've seen this in a million other movies before, at least with the home video footage. Like, yeah, we've seen that in House of a Thousand Corpses and all of Rob Zombie's movies, but at least it's more of like a Rob Zombie staple and not just like a Hollywood staple.
Yeah. It's definitely a Rob Zombie touch at this point, with characters remembering how somebody was before this change. Like, we get it with Buddy and basically his life flashing before his eyes, and House of a Thousand Corpses. We get the home video footage of the Firefly family just hanging out after they're shot to bits. We get home video footage of young Michael Myers that Lori is watching to, not Lori, but Deborah's watching before she kills herself so she can remember her son before this craziness. It's definitely a Rob Zombie touch at this point. And we're way ahead of where we're at in the timeline, but I want to say that must have been a miracle to dig up old home movie footage of Danielle Harris.
I was just about to say that. Like, that's such a neat touch that you're seeing basically like younger than when she was in Halloween, but she still has the that haircut from the original movies. And yeah, it was a neat way of incorporating just real ass footage of Danielle Harris into the movie.
So, which is cool because his other ones, they're kind of like extra scenes that he filmed for that stuff. Whereas in this, that's real life actual footage.
Yeah, that she just offered up. So again, Danielle Harris is a fucking trooper. I can't believe like I blanked on her name at the beginning of this review. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if I mentioned this in the last HorrorCon, in the last podcast. I have a slight Danielle Harris story. I didn't meet her. I was online to meet Dick Warlock, who played Michael Myers in the original Halloween 2, and he was Kurt Russell's stunt double in a lot of the John Carpenter movies. He has one of the coolest names in film history, Dick Warlock.
That's a cool. That almost sounds like a name that Leslie Nielsen would use in one of his parody movies.
Absolutely. My name is Dick
Warlock.
Private investigator. But
like
dude,
Dick Steele on Spy Hard.
Dude is 82 years old, and he was signing autographs all day. But right next to his booth was Danielle Harris. And I felt pretty bad. Like, it was kind of like empty over there, and she was just kind of sitting there chilling out. Like, a couple of people came over, and the line was so long on Dick Warlock. Like, I didn't actually want to lose my spot, but I'm like, I kind of want to just go over and talk to Danielle Harris right now. Like, she's just chilling. Like, she's just not doing anything.
Damn. You would expect her line to be long as fuck.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, maybe it was like longer earlier in the day, or maybe like, because I only went there for one day. Maybe it was like, an off day for her. But I was like, damn, I feel bad for Danielle Harris. Like, I want to go over there.
Yeah, so what happens next? So she throws up. What is next?
I think there's more Loomis bullshit in there.
Yeah, so I guess we'll talk about this Loomis scene. I like a lot. He's signed. Well, see, we're still like a day away from Halloween.
Yeah, I'm trying to go further into my notes just to see where we're at, because they are still planning for the Halloween ball as well. There's still some scenes with her friends. There's the scenes with the rabbit in red that we talked about, where he's kind of yelling at him to take out the trash, and he's like,
Yeah, we
"There's
haven't gotten
like a
there
Captain
yet.
Spaulding scene."
Yeah, we haven't gotten there yet. Because that's also like later the night, very right there in Halloween morning, going into midnight. So I guess next is the day before Halloween. She's walking around, and you got Daniel Roebuck as the Frankenstein monster talking shit, and then it cuts to Lori tripping out at her therapist, talking about another bit where it's like hardcore. She's been dealing with her trauma so hard, now it's rock bottom, because now she's addicted to the pills, because she's screaming about needing a new prescription, but the doctor tells her, based on my notes, you should have a lot of prescriptions left over. And she's screaming, "No, I'm out. I need more. I need you to get your magic pen and your magic piece of paper and make me a new prescription." And like, she's like, "No, you need to just deal with this on your own." Da 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 da. She's like, "No, I need my prescription." And
It's uncomfortable to sit through. None of this is in the theatrical cut, but
wow, really?
yeah,
And,
no, they cut all this out. You actually,
this shit is real as fuck to me, man, because there's a lot of pain pill addiction that I witnessed in my family growing up. And dead ass for real, motherfuckers get that way.
and they turn on the therapist in a way where it's like they see them now more as just the job. Like, I like the line that Lori says where it's like, "Yeah, you really care about me with $100 a fucking session," and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah. And then she tells her, "Here, I'm gonna prescribe you some Haldar or some shit, some fucking shit." She's like, "Haldar, Haldar, no! I want my fucking prescription. Fuck you! I'm getting out of here." La, la, la.
And there's like the rapid Rob Zombie editing where it's cutting to the Frankenstein monster, then it's cutting to her with the pig. And in the theatrical cut, there's none of that. They actually show you the full sequence of her with the pig.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, you get to see the whole interaction of her with the girl, and she holds it up, and she's like, "Oh, hi." The pig's name is Henry. She goes, "Oh, hi, Henry," and she explained. The girl is like, "Oh, it's a pot-bellied pig." And Laurie's kind of cute with it for a moment, showing that Myers like animal loving side. Where she whispers in the pig's ear, like, "I'm gonna steal you later. Like, I'm gonna take you home," and then hands it back to her, like, "Oh, thank you." She's wearing, when she's out on the streets like this, she's wearing a hat that you would see Rob Zombie wear like all the time in interviews.
That
Like
big goofy thing.
Yeah, like she's
Yeah.
femme zombie, which I guess makes sense if she's supposed to be Sherry Moon Zombie's daughter. They actually do have a lot of similar vocal and facial features.
That
Especially
is
later
true.
when Laurie's breaking down and she's driving the cars. "Hey, asshole! Fuck you!" I'm like, that's Sherry Moon Zombie right there. I'm like, that's Sherry.
Like mother, like daughter.
This summer,
This year, family comes home.
Oh shit. Alrighty.
So yeah, so that happens, and fuck, I don't know where it goes from here. So I guess we'll cut to the Red Rabbit Lounge, which had barely a thing in the first movie, but has a lot more going on. Daniel Roebuck is back as Lou, Sherry Moon Zombie or Deborah Myers' boss from the first movie.
Yeah. It's funny that this place is still in business all these years later, and they did add like he's gray now. He's got age.
Yeah. I like that they make him look older, and it's a very, very similar to. But then also notice that poster of the Red Rabbit Lounge still has Sherry Moon Zombie on it, so it's like they're still like using Deborah Myers' image to sell the place long after she'd been dead.
Oh yeah, kind of like those weird Milwaukee like Dahmer tours where it's like, "Come to the Rabbit in Red. This is where Michael Myers' mom worked." Really shady, like disgusting.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like Captain Spaulding, where he's watching himself on the news. And
he's girl sitting in his lap. He's like, "This is me on the news."
The only difference between him and Spalding is like Spalding was in it just for the commercial. He's like, "Bitch, don't talk during my commercial." Here, like he's all over the girl, and it's the other guy, Herman Munster, Geico caveman guy, who he just keeps talking, and he's kind of being like passive aggressive, like just throwing off their vibe. And he's like, "God damn it, take out the fucking trash."
Yeah, he says, "Hey, what do strippers do to their asshole before they go to work?" And he's like, "I don't know what." And he says, "Give them $10 and tell them to take out the trash." And she's like, "Take out the trash, take out the trash."
And then there is kind of like an alluding to the future Munsters movie, because I know Daniel Roebuck plays Grandpa, but he's in the Frankenstein, so he kind of looks like Herman already there, and he's in all the commercials, like, "We got all the fine ladies," and he's like thrusting into the mic and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You look
And
great.
so Jeff Daniel Phillips is like, "Enjoy them herpes, Lou."
Yeah. And then immediately once he's out the door, he's like, "Fucking two-faced bitch."
Yeah, starts smoking a cig and he grabs the trash. And as soon as he turns around, man, big ass Michael Myers standing there. And he's all like, "Hey, man, we told you homeless motherfuckers to stop going around our trash." And then, like, he's just standing there and he's like, "Hey, don't give me a reason."
Yeah, he's trying to fucking stare this guy down. And he's trying to be super cool.
And so he goes to punch Mike, and Michael Myers is like, whatever, and it's like it hurts him. He's like, "Oh, my hand," and Michael Myers punches his ass to the ground, and dude is laying there and shit, just like and then boom, boot stomp, motherfucker.
And then this time it's personal because this is where his mom worked. So I really wasn't joking when I was like, these are the best kills in the movie, because yeah, it's gratuitous, yeah, it's violent, but it's fucking awesome when he goes in there and starts fucking, number one, there's a really, like, it's disgusting, but it's so funny where he's like, pussy, good, ass, good.
Yeah, yeah, because he's like, fucking, "Hey, it's after midnight," and she's like, "What? You think my pussy's gonna turn into a pumpkin?" It's like, "Nah. How would you like to get fucked by the Frankenstein monster?"
This is such a Rob Zombie moment, but I actually love it. And she's like, big green monster,
Yeah, yeah. He's like, "Oh, titties, good." Fuck yeah, dude.
That was great. And then fucking the reaction, Michael's just standing there. He's like, "Whoa, you want to stare me down, motherfucker? I was in Nam." He pulls
Yeah, he gets his gun and does the one thing that you shouldn't do. How about grab the gun and shoot? No, don't grab the gun and walk up to the motherfucker.
Right. Grab the gun and then like fucking try to hit him with it for some reason.
Yeah, and so yeah, Michael Myers just fucks him up, slamming him into shit, and old chick starts running out. And
Dude, so she fucking, I know that she's like maybe in high heels, or like, again, the floor's slippery with whatever the Frankenstein monster has on that floor, but she fucking slips and hurts herself. She hits into the wall.
yeah, dude. And there's actually, I was checking out the deleted scenes. There's an alternate version of this, but in the deleted scene I saw, she runs out, and Michael Myers comes over there and then grabs her, and I guess he breaks her back. I don't know, but then drags her back in, and that's when he turns the open sign to close. But that's the deleted scene. So he just fucks
That's a lot quicker than what she gets in the movie.
Yeah, and fucking he fucks old Daniel Roebuck up. Damn, just slamming him on shit.
Breaks his fucking arm, like the bone comes out, and it's like he's definitely doing like silly screams. He's like, "Ooh," but like it's still fucking so violent and terrifying as he's running out. He almost looks like a zombie as he's holding his broken arm, and she's screaming. He's like, "Open the door!" And then he sees fucking Michael. He's like, "No!"
Yeah,
like, he just can't get away. So fucked up. And then he just slams him one more time.
Just gets brutally fucked up. So what happens to the lady? I can't even remember. She just gets slammed around too.
Yeah, well, this is why it's like one of the most brutal kills in the movie is because it's kind of like what happened to Octavia Spencer. It's like comedic amount of times he slams her into a fucking mirror and then like one more time, and you see
Oh,
her just like
yeah.
spaz out for a second before hitting the floor, and you're like, Jesus.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, boof, boof. Kind of like when he killed Ken Foray in the first movie, just smashing his ass into the fucking bathroom stall.
Yes, exactly. It's like a finishing move in the WWE, but she's just sitting there naked, getting flopped into it. The glass is already broken, and he's just like breaking her through the drywall, basically. Another creepy detail is like she tries to claw at his face, and she just
Yeah, and it
rips off
rips
a
some of
piece
the
of the
mask
mask.
off.
That was freaky.
Yeah, he rips a little bit of the mask off, but he keeps on wearing. He's like, man, I didn't pull this thing out of my damn floorboards for you to rip my mask up.
Oh, and there's that sick shot where the light hits the eye and he turns and looks into the camera. So I
Yeah,
really do like the rabbit in red sequence. And again, I wasn't joking when it's like this time it's personal because it's like, yeah, Michael is at his most angry here. Like this is his revenge mission.
yeah, this is where my mama works.
Fuck you guys.
Yeah, so now it's Halloween Day, and the book is released. So we have like a news interview with fucking Loomis. Loomis is making the rounds, man. Got a news interview in front of the old Myers house, and his publicist is, talking shit. I think this is in bad taste. Da 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 da. He's trying to like get his Mac on with this young reporter lady and shit, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm Dr. Loomis." He's like, "No, call me Sam."
Yeah.
but he's just
Schmoozing on
talking.
this young lady.
He's talking his shit right here. He's like, "Oh, it's like my mother always said, freaks will always find their way home."
Yeah, just and he's checked out of the interview, like he's just looking around in his sunglasses, like just waiting to leave. And yeah, he calls them freaks, and Laurie's watching this.
And he's like, "Where do you want me?" But yeah, so fucking Brackett. So this might be the day before, but Brackett's watching it, and he's like, "Oh shit." He's gonna reveal the whole secret in this book, and they're like, "What's in this book?" He's like, "Oh, you'll have to read it." Uh, but then we get like a book signing. I love the book signing, especially when I don't know the guy's real name, but he pops up. He's like, "Hey man, can you bring it? Can you sign it to Chet the Death Dealer?" That guy played Monroe on Grimm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he played basically he played a werewolf kind of dude.
Because he's
Um,
raggedy in this movie and greasy, and he's definitely one of those like
I think in
obsessive type.
Grimm they called him a Blutbottom or some shit. But yeah, Grimm was a cool ass show. So I was like, oh shit, it's fucking. Me and Stars were like, it's that fucking guy, a Grimm. But yeah, he's
Call him
hilarious, man. He's all into it. He's like, yeah, man, like Michael Myers is better than Dahmer or that bitch Bundy. Like he gets down to your soul, man.
And the moment he signs it, he just immediately like tosses it back to him, like, all right, you're the man. You're the man.
You're the man. And he's like, oh yeah, we always have one. And then another man walks up, and I don't know. He is the father of one of the girls from the first movie, but he's like, you know who I am? No, sir, I don't. And he holds the picture. This is her. You killed my daughter. Da 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 da. And he's like, all right, no, I didn't.
Yeah, again, the switch. He's like, listen, you have my sympathy, and I know what you're going through. He's like, yeah, you have my sympathy when you're selling this fucking book. I'll kill you.
Yeah, he pulls the gun out. I'll kill you. He's like, oh shit. Oh no.
I dug that scene because that's shit that, unfortunately you do see in real life.
Yeah. And so then they're walking away, or no, they're driving away, and Polis's chick is all like, yeah, the police said the gun wasn't loaded. And he's like, oh, it doesn't really matter. And blah, blah, blah. And so then they go on to the Chris Hardwick show, but on here it's like the Newman show or something. And
Yeah, and he's sitting there basically talking dead with Weird Al, the weirdest cameo, no pun intended, in the movie. And
yeah,
fucking
he says, "Oh, hello, Mr. Weird."
yeah, I was just about to say that. He's like, oh, Al will do just fine.
Yeah. And
And then
so like fucking Chris Hardwick's like asking him questions and shit, but then Weird Al is answering them.
yeah, and then fucking Loomis is not biting, like he's just taking it too seriously, and even Weird Al's getting all awkward by it. But I love how even at the beginning, like it's so clear they're just making a mockery at Loomis, where Chris Hardwick goes like, "So the new book, The Devil in Your Town or whatever," and then he's like, "It's available somewhere," and he just kind of tosses it off to the side.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, and a lot of people have this to say, and it cuts. I love the way they do that. It cuts, and he's like walking out there. I've never been so humiliated in my life. So you're like, yes, it did not go well.
And
But
there's
what I
a
like is
comedic touch. They have to kindly be like, "Oh, goodbye, thank you."
yes, I like that later on he goes to watch it because like fuck it, I'm on TV, I'm gonna watch myself, and you see a little more of the interview, and they're just not having it. And then Weird Al says the classic line. So is this like the Austin Powers Mike Myers we're talking about?
Establishing the world that yes, Mike Myers exists in this world. And then I love he looks down, he's like, "It's over." That could
Yeah.
be a reusable meme. Just like change what he's watching on the TV. It's over.
It's
Uh,
over.
fuck
I'm waiting on that mark of Sam Hain now.
yeah, yeah. And then fucking Chris Hardwick completely shuts down what Loomis is saying because uh Loomis tries to do the victim shit again, where he's like, in many ways, I've been going through my own struggles to tell this story, and my life has been in danger. And he's quickly like, yeah, I'm sure we all feel bad for you.
Yeah. Fucking so yeah, that's a lot of good shit. And so yeah, fucking Brackett's like, oh man, she can't read this book, man. And so like he calls Annie from work, talking like, yo, have you seen Lori? She's like, no, she left before I got here. And like as he's telling her, well, tell her I need to talk to her because I guess he wants to break the news to her. And Lori sees it at a bookstore and is like, fuck it, I'll go ahead and get it. But then we get this to a ghost mom, ghost young Michael Myers, and homeless Michael Myers are walking, and they see that giant billboard in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of a field.
Oh yeah, and I hate that shot of Michael looking at his mom, and he just looks like Rob Zombie on one of his album covers with that.
Yeah, dude, like it looks like Rob Zombie from Hellbilly Deluxe 2's album cover.
Yes, I was trying to remember. It's Hellbilly Deluxe 2. And he's all wide-eyed staring at his ghost mom.
Which, weirdly enough, Hellbilly Deluxe 2 dropped in early 2010. I like it a lot more now than I did originally. It's still fairly weak. Kind of feels like it's going through the motions. But then there's the deluxe edition that they released 6, 7, 8 months later when Joey Jordison joined the band for a short period of time, and they added
Deluxe.
yeah, and they added a new version of The Man Who Laughs that took out the like 6, 7 minute drum solo and like replaced it with a cool ass mandolin solo, and then added a new song called Michael.
Yeah.
Which is your little Michael Myers song from Rob Zombie. It's got a lot of sound bites from Ghost Mama in there. And both versions are interesting, and I don't know which one I like better. But so the newer tracks are, to me, I will say, if they'd have kept the original version of The Man Who Laughs and maybe just had the new one as a bonus track, I'd probably, because the new added songs kind of elevate the album from fine to better.
Yeah, and there's a couple of songs. I'm actually looking at it now on Spotify because there's a couple. I like Sick Bubblegum.
Yeah, Sick Bubblegum is awesome. It's got that. I called it rock. It's Rob Zombie stripper rock, like off of Educated Horses with Foxy Foxy.
Right, and it is kind of like Red Groovy as well. Never gonna stop, man, never gonna stop.
Like it's one of my least favorite Rob albums, but at the same time, it's much better than I remember it back in the day.
I like what, and then I just wanted to make sure it was on this album. Was he gave Werewolf Women of the SS the theme song?
Yeah.
Of
Like,
women,
still
yeah.
hoping that becomes a movie.
We need to get it now that Eli Roth is doing Thanksgiving. Come on, Rob.
And we already got Hobo with a shotgun and shit, so let's do it. We already got Machete. Let's fucking do it.
And I want Edgar Wright to make Don't.
All right.
Don't.
But
Up.
yeah, so they're looking up there at that billboard, like, yep, that's where we need to go. And then Ghost Mama Apparition says some shit like, he's still here, he's still there, or something.
Oh, what would have been interesting, and it probably would have just added more fat to the movie, but fucking while Loomis is doing this whole tour, like, where the fuck is Udo Kier? Like, Haddonfield, like, he's just seeing him angrily sell out.
Yeah, him and Ron Howard's brother.
And then another thing that I don't believe is in the theatrical cut at all is, like, in between some of these Laurie visions and, like, sequences with the ghost mom, she wakes up from one of the dreams, and they're trying to show that, like, she's still trying to keep it together. She likes to sleep with her stuffed animals, and she kind of has, like, a Tony from The Shining moment. She wakes up from the dream, and she looks at her stuffed animal, and she's like, I'm losing my mind. And then she talks for the stuffed animal, and she's like, don't worry, Laurie, that cocksucker Michael Myers is dead. He ain't coming back. And she's like,
that is not in the director's cut.
It's a nice little moment. Like, I'm sure it would have bloated the theatrical cut more, and it was added later on just to make Laurie seem more like, I guess not stable, but like still trying to keep it together, because he's like, oh, thanks. I'm just going to call the stuffed animal Vinny. I forgot what she called it. But she's like, oh, thanks, Vinny. You always know what to say. And she hugs the little stuffed animal. It's a cute little moment.
So that must only be in theatrical version.
Yeah, it still has that Rob Zombie, like, she's doing this cutesy voice, a little bit of a Sherry Moon Zombie, but she's like, that cocksucker Michael Myers ain't coming back.
But yes, there's other scenes where she's having the little dream vision things where it's almost like she's having a seizure in the bathroom. I can't remember which.
About killing Annie.
Yeah. That shit was awesome because it cuts to her eating candy corn, like young Michael Myers in the first movie. She reaches for the knife and the duct tape, and she's wearing that young Michael Myers mask, called that clown mask, and she duct tapes Annie to the chair, just like Michael Myers did to stepdad boyfriend guy, and fucking just starts killing the shit out of her, talking about motherfucking fuck you, da 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 da, and like.
Yeah, and they recreated the shot of her, like, standing over with the clown mask and then taking it off, revealing her. She cuts to, like, her wearing, like, this black metal, like, she has the upside down cross on her head and the black tears coming down her eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And then it also cuts to, like, Annie's face, and you could hear her screaming, like, Laurie, stop! Ah! Like, she's dying. Pretty crazy fucking shit.
Yeah. So I dig the shit out of that bit. But yeah, so that's a lot of the Loomis shit that was going on. But she gets the book, and I like the shit out of this. She gets the book, and she's reading it, and then boom, like, it's still not spelled out. Like, so she's freaking out in the car, she's screaming, she's tripping the fuck out, and she's like back at home or something, and she's drinking a beer, and fucking Danielle Harris is like, what's with the booze? She's like, this is my new helper. Or my new coach.
They cut out some of these arguments too, because earlier in the movie she's like, so this is what your new friends fucking do, and she's like, I'm not impressed and stuff like that. That's all out of the theatrical cut.
So yeah, she drives to blonde-haired glasses girl's house.
Like, could I crash here for a little bit? And she's like, sure, what's up? And
she's like, she's hysterical. On the way, this is when she's driving, and she's like, fuck you, asshole.
Yeah, before she was like slamming the book, like, fuck.
Yeah. and she's fucking chilling with blonde hair or white hair glasses girl, and they're just she's like just tripping out, man, because she just found out she's Myers' sister. She calls Annie and says, "Hey, do you know anything about this?" Or no, this is before she leaves there. She's screaming at Annie. And she's like, "Well, you just tell your dad that Angel says fuck you."
And she's like, who the fuck is Angel?
Yeah.
But doesn't believe she's like, oh, I'm sure Daddy's little princess knows everything.
Yeah, so when all that's going on, fucking she's hanging out with white hair glasses girl, and then what up Dick Lickas comes in there.
Yup, the return of the Dick Licker. That's what she should have said.
What up Dick Lickas?
And then she is still trying to make light of it, like, whoa, where's the fire? Who died? And then she's like, oh shit, Lori, did somebody like seriously die?
Yeah, she's like, "No, I'm Michael Myers' sister." And they're like, "What?" They're not believing it, and she shows her pictures in the book.
Yeah, they look at it for 2 seconds and they're like, whoa, this is some serious shit. Where I'm like, this could have been still fabricated,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Sizzle.
Yeah, I'm selling the sizzle, not the steak. She's fucking reading it. Before she even says I'm Michael Myers' sister, she's like, I don't know who I am. Do you get what
I'm not
saying?
me.
I'm
Well,
not
then
me. And they're like, not really, but just take a seat.
Y'all might want to sit down for this. We're in for a big old ride.
But yeah, they look at the picture. She's like, that's me. I'm Angel Myers.
Yeah, and so like they're chilling, and I'm guessing it cuts to like fucking, more Myers walking. I mean, Myers, dude, Michael Myers did about enough walking as Frodo and Sam in
He's
the
on a quest.
So what?
He's on a quest, and then by the end of the movie, he should just be like all buff legs, like just all thighs.
Yeah, you just keep seeing it, and most of the time it just looks like the same field. Like he's just walking back and forth in this field.
Yeah, they probably filmed it all in one night, the same night that they filmed him fucking killing the hillbillies.
Yeah, all right, Rob Zombie's like, all right, Tyler, I want you to walk this way.
And
all
now
right, Tyler, I want you to walk that way.
And he's like, sweet.
Yeah, I'm going to hold the camera down here. All right, here, we're going to use this drone, the new thing we call drones. It's going to swoop around.
I get money and I get my walk-in for the day.
Yeah. So
is this where so it's Halloween night now? This is where like the kid is like,
the little kid gets his trick or treat. This is a funny bit. The little kid's like trick or treat, gets his candy, and he bumps into Michael Myers. He's like, "Are you a giant? Can we be friends?" It's like, you dumbass little kid.
I love it's lit like just from under the street lamp, and I remember all the TV promos at the time for Halloween 2 would use this little sequence, and little kid me. It is a pretty chilling image to this day, this towering behemoth of a man who's just in silhouette. He kind of looks like the Grim Reaper, just standing, and the kid is dressed up like a clown, just like Michael was.
And then I guess his older sister comes walking up in a cat outfit. Don't talk to strangers. He's like, bye.
So yeah, he's a future victim in a slasher movie. He's going to grow up to be killed because he already doesn't understand the rules.
Yeah, so that was a funny little bit. But so yeah, now Dick Lickas is like fucking chilling. They're all chilling. And Lori's they're all drinking beer, and Lori's already a little drunk. I want to party.
I don't give a fuck anymore. I just want to go out.
And they're like, white hair glasses girl is like, I don't know. Let's just stay in, order some food.
Right. Let's not overlook that.
Huh?
Is that I know that let's not overlook that. I know that she eventually caves in, but it is nice for a slasher movie character to be like, she did make the right decision. It just didn't work because Dick Lick is like, fuck it, you know me. She immediately caves.
Yeah, Dick Lick is like, shit, you want to party? I'm always ready to party. And
Dick Lick is ready to lick some dicks.
Yeah. So they're like, okay, whatever, let's go. And boom, most rad ass. Because earlier in the movie, you get a cut to a music video for Captain Clegg and the Night Creatures song, the the fake band of the movie. But yeah, that band is playing at the Phantom Jam, and they're playing all the songs from the damn album because they made an album for this band, and the album kicks ass. Just like I said,
I listened to it because of you, the Captain Clegg. When we were starting this retrospective, you recommended that in the Banjo and Sullivan album. And I have to say, I think I liked Captain Clegg a little bit more than the Banjo album because it's a nice little Halloween party song you could put on. They play a couple of my favorite ones in the actual movie.
Yeah.
But another one that's one of my favorites. I don't know if they made a music video for it, but I love Dr. Demon and the Rope.
Yeah, there is a music video for that one because on the special features of the DVD there are 6 music videos, and Dr. Demon and the Robot Girl is one of them.
Did they just do the whole? I don't remember how many tracks are on the album. It might just be
roughly 10 tracks on the album, so just about the whole damn album.
Yeah, all the jams, kicking them out.
But yeah, man, I do like the Captain Clegg album more than the Banjo and Sullivan because it's like you said, like it's just a good ass Halloween album with all your favorite kind of Halloween styles like rockabilly, psychobilly, kind of country-esque, fucking a little bit of that flamenco Spanish stuff. Like it's all over the place.
With the synths, it has that twang, but also kind of like that old timey, like doo doo doo.
Yeah, and some organs and stuff. A little surfy vibes to the guitar. Like it's got all the great Halloween music sounds all in it. Whereas the Banjo and Sullivan is just a really good country album.
Yeah, with some comedic themes in there.
Yeah, fucking what's that one? Dick Soup,
Cock Salad.
Fucking she's out. She's out getting. I'm home getting hammered while she's out getting nailed. Which I think is great though, because there's some like clever song titles on that one. Like I'm trying to quit, but I just quit trying. Like there's some really good ass fucking like song titles on that Banjo and Sullivan album.
Yeah, it's really clever. And then I was wondering, what do you think of, now that we're just talking about his music, what do you think about his track with the Ghastly Ones, that little Halloween, she's so mean? Did you ever hear that one?
The one that Rob Zombie did on Halloween Hootenanny?
Yeah.
I think it's great because I love the Ghastly Ones just because of the horror surf stuff. And, you know, Rob Zombie basically helped them out. He put them on his Zombie A Go-Go Records label, and that's when he put out that Halloween Hootenanny album. And fucking, I think Rob Zombie should use horror surf music a little more because he fits so good. Because most Ghastly One stuff is instrumental anyway. I think each album has like 1, maybe 2 songs with vocals out of like 19 tracks, you know?
Right. So
that's it's what really cool
to me is that his voice does lend itself really well to that sort of it reminds me, I really like the Coffin Daggers, a very similar sound as well.
Yeah.
Very organ heavy and very surfy, kind of like the Mummies as well. Have you ever seen footage of the Mummies?
I have their one and only album.
Nice.
I found it at the Goodwill outlet for 49 cents. And yeah, and apparently it's worth a chunk of cash.
Yeah, so hold that closely because I love going back with my friends and watching the live footage of them just fucking wrecking the place, the fucking mummy things just falling off them, that keyboard swinging around and them screaming at the audience. But it's still like, it's more of like a hardcore surfy kind of sound too.
Yeah, like they're not like horror surf, but like they're surf vibes. It's just good ass punk rock, really.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. So Rob Zombie, I agree with you. He should do more of that. I call it a Monster Mashy sound, you know.
Yeah. It's got like you can say Monster Mash, and the theme song to the Munsters gave birth to an entire genre of Halloween music.
Right, because then you got that Graveyard Shift song that came out after, and it's just straight up like a fucking Monster Mash ripoff. Which that song cracks me up. It's the Graveyard Shift because half that song is just a guy pretending to dig and going, yeah.
Because yeah, on that Halloween Hootenanny album, the Low Straight Jackets, another surfy horror band, do a cover of the Munsters theme, and then I don't think the Bomboras is on Halloween Hootenanny, but they're another horror surf band that was on Zombie A Go-Go's for a real short period of time as well.
I don't know if you ever listened to the Jagaloons, but I would recommend them as well. I saw them live with the Coffin Daggers, and I not necessarily horror, but still in that surfy line as well, and still kind of horror at times.
Yeah, because
really,
like the Bomboras, they got like 2 albums that fit the horror surf vibe. There's It Came From Pier 19 and Head Shrinking Fun. Those to me are their best albums. But it's not like Ghastly Ones where like everything sounds like it could be in a Saturday morning cartoon horror block.
Yeah, exactly. One of the other opening bands that night, they only have one song on Spotify. I'm waiting for the album to come out. I don't know when the release date will be, but their band name was Habina Habina, and of course, their first album's going to be titled. And of course, they have the self-titled song, so they played it for us, and that's what's on Spotify is Habina Habina by Habina Habina off of the album Habina Habina. But it's surf rock, but it kind of has like a cool kind of Middle Eastern Egyptian kind of like that kind of vibe to it. It's very danceable, and I love it's instrumental, but I love just like the main riff that they keep going back to. I'm gonna have to send it to you. The bam 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 bam. Bam, 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 bam. It was really cool to see them bust that out live. And then for a while, I was like trying to get the spelling of the name right just to see if I can find them. And then I did. And that's just the one song of theirs that's on Spotify. But I'm eagerly awaiting more Habina Habina because they were fucking sick.
But yeah, so people, check out, if you can find the CDs, check out the Banjo and Sullivan album and the Captain Clegg and the Night Creatures album. They sound great. And it's the same guy. Captain Clegg is also the singer and musician on the Banjo and Sullivan. You can hear a lot of crossover in the vocal stylings on it.
Absolutely. And that's another thing that's funny too, is that it's not even the actor who plays Sullivan or Banjo in the or is it? Is it the actor who plays Banjo?
No.
Yeah, it's just
this guy has his own other rockabilly band. I keep forgetting the damn name of it.
But that's interesting too, how Rob Zombie's like, yeah, we could make an album just with this singer, and he could fill in because you never actually see Banjo and Sullivan sing in the movie.
Yeah.
Here you actually do
check that shit out, y'all. Like, it sounds fucking good. If you want a fucking album to listen to at Halloween, if you're one of those people like me that has like certain shit that you only listen to around Halloween, that Captain Clegg and the Night Creatures will definitely fucking curb that appetite.
Absolutely. So that's our little speaker brains portion of the show. We have a mini mixture episode here. But that's the cool thing about Rob Zombie is that ultimately at the end of the day, music is the foundation of it all. I'm sure he's
this movie has that Rob Zombie touch where you've got a local band within this universe that he's created, and he's making his little universe for 2 hours feel like a real place that embraces the Halloween spirit. You got this cool fucking, it's a concert, it's a rated R concert too, man, because there's naked ladies up on stage and shit. And then we get Jeff Daniel Phillips coming back as Seymour Coffins telling some really bad fucking stand-up jokes.
Yeah, which is essentially him trying out for the Herman role later, because that's
dude. So much of his acting right here reminds me of how he played Herman Munster in The Munsters.
Absolutely. And then now that we're talking about music too, I wanted to bring this up is no John Carpenter score at all in this movie, or
like Love.
Like there's no reliance
on theme till it till the credits roll. I like that because it's another thing where it's like I'm watching a Halloween movie, it's doing all this different stuff, and I'm actually not missing the standard Halloween score at all.
Like the score that they do have isn't anything like special. It's just kind of generic horror, like like stuff like that. But it ain't bad.
Yeah,
And then the other
survival.
soundtrack choices. And then again, the other soundtrack choices like the Moody Blues, Captain Clegg. I don't like the version of Love Hurts that they use in the director's cut ending is a cool cover, but just its usage is weird in the movie.
Yeah, the lady that does the cover of Love Hurts at the end of the director's version of Halloween 2 is the same lady that did the slower cover of Mr. Sandman in Rob Zombie's first Halloween.
Yeah, and that's a note that I made too, is that if they kept up with the Moody Blues thing, it could have been its own Mr. Sandman for this Halloween too.
Yeah.
And I've been listening, like, I know it gets overused in movies, but ever since we did the first Halloween podcast, I've just been re-listening to that Love Hurts by Nazareth. It's such a good fucking track.
Yeah, it's such a rockin' ass track, but it's one that I've heard too many times in my life to like go to want to turn it on, you know what I mean?
Right. I haven't looked it up personally in so long. And then the other day I did. I was driving home from work and I was just like, play Love Hurts by Nazareth. And on the sound system, it just sounded so awesome with the sweeping guitar and the thumping bass. But then I'm thinking about other people looking in my car. They're like, did this guy just go through like a breakup or something? Like, what the fuck is his deal? Love hurts. Boom, doo, doo, doo.
Yeah, so during the Phantom Jam, you got this full ass fucking animatronic pumpkin dude thing. I don't know. And then What Up Dick Lickas is walking around with this kid in a werewolf mask, and he's hilarious.
He's so awkward.
He is funny, man, because like he's trying to play it so cool, but he is such a dork, and he's probably never been laid before, but he plays it off like he has, and he's like finally getting this chick that's like, fuck it, man, we're gonna do it. And she's like, blowjobs, is that what you're still calling it now? And he's like, you don't know how to handle it. She's like, I just call it sucking a dick. And he's like, yeah, that's my van, the shaggin' wagon. Like, bro, it's 2009. Nobody's calling them shaggin' wagons anymore.
And he's like, I got beer in my car, roofie free. I swear.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, the ladies love it in here. She's like, yeah, really, like, and she just wants to fuck, and he's trying to play it up. But then, and she's like, straight up, she just wants to fuck him with the mask on. You know, making out with him with the mask on and shit. You never see the kid's fucking face. And then he's like, and this is it right here. You're fucking, every fucking slasher does this, right about to get down. Oh man, I'll be back in a second. I gotta go piss. So she's like, we better hurry the fuck up. So he goes to piss, and here comes Michael Myers, stabs him in the back.
And he just kind of like appears, like it's almost like a jump cut, and he's like, Pfft. It was very weird.
Yeah, just stabs him and fucking kills him. And What Up Dick Lickas is just laying in the van and shit, and then Michael Myers busts in there, and he just kind of like strangles her slowly, and then you hear a little neck crack, and then all right, yep, she dead.
Yeah, it's one of the lamer kills in the movie, and there's no dicks to lick tonight. She's just
she dead as fuck. But let me down take a piss real quick.
Gotcha. So Travis survived the piss break.
Yeah, I survived. I said I'll be back, and I'm still here. So yeah,
I'll be back.
What Up
but
Dick Lickas is dead. So now Lori's enjoying the concert and has a freak out moment, thinking Michael Myers is behind her.
Yeah, she sees Michael and Lori, and she starts fucking screaming and flipping out, and she's looking for Maya. I think the girl's name was white hair chick, because she's like Maya. That's I think how I now remember it. And she's asking Herman Munster if she's seen Maya, and he's just fucking like, now it's becoming overwhelming for her, like the music. She even says she's like, I hate this, and then she wants to leave. So Maya takes her out of there, and they're looking for the other girl, and she's like, she probably ran off with some dude like she always does. Like she'll find her own way home.
Yeah. Where's what up, Dick Lickers?
Licking a dick. What do you think?
And so they head on home, but before all this goes down, Sheriff Brackett tells his cop buddy, "Hey man, could you just go to my house and make sure that nothing goes down?" He's like, "Man, I did this last year, and Annie almost kicked me in the nuts." He's like, "Well, then stand outside with your shotgun like last time." And so he goes over there, and she's like, "Really, Dad?" Da 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 da. But what's weird is when I was peeking through the deleted scenes, there is another random character that he sends over there. Some young guy that's about Annie's age shows up, and not the sheriff, and he's like brought groceries and shit, and he's like making her nachos, and he's trying to get her to go to this Comic-Con thing with her, and she just ain't having it and shit. And I'm just like, damn, that's some weird shit. And she's like telling her dad on the phone, "I'm going to the movies. Da, da, da. Why'd you send him over here?" But yeah, all of that is cut the fuck out.
Yeah,
But
even in the theatrical cut, there is a shot of fucking Brad Dourif reading the book and slamming his fist on the table like, God damn it.
can't believe he let the secret out.
He spilled the beans. That son of a bitch. Because he's slowly turning into a cowboy with that long hair and the mustache. He's kind of like Kurt Russell in Tombstone.
And so yeah, old cop buddy is standing there at the tree, and I like this shot a lot, man. Where like you just see him standing there, and then Michael Myers like he's standing within the tree and walks out. It's like the tree was hiding him.
Yeah, like the camouflage, like he wasn't hiding in the tree, he was the tree. Kind of again playing on that he's a shape. And then
He's just a shadow of evil.
yes, the devil's eyes, the blackest eyes. Yar. And then fucking I like also too, he's sitting out there, it's cold, he's nervous, he's shaking, like you see him just kind of like futzing around out there, and then he turns on the flashlight and that's when shit hits the fan.
Yeah, boom, got his ass dead as fuck, and fucking damn Annie's just like, I go into the bathroom, and you're looking up in there, fucking Lori is obviously the one that like spray painted all this shit on their walls. I'm like, chick, you are their guest, and you are destroying their wall. This house they've probably had for generations. Fucking got a black pentagram spray painted on the bathroom door with 666 and shit. Like, damn, take care of people's shit.
And then yeah, Annie gets fucking killed.
Yeah, damn. Michael Myers is like, I guess he's hanging out in the bathtub. I don't know. It's like she kind of sees him in the corner of her eye, and she's like, "Oh no!" And he's just like slamming around. I like this. They don't really show any of it, man. You just hear it, and fucking so Lori and white hair glasses girl come back. She's like, "I'm so glad you want to go home." And they walk up in there and shit, and she's like, "How about eat a cookie? This cookie will make you feel better." And she's like, "Ain't no cookie gonna do nothing for me." And so like they walk upstairs, and boom, Annie laying there dying and shit, ain't dead all the way yet.
Yeah,
Fucking
and there's another moment, like right as they're walking up to the door, she's like, "Hey, world, I'm Michael Myers' sister. I'm so fucked." And I just want a neighbor to be like, "Shut the fuck up."
yeah, I'm trying to sleep.
Throws a beer can.
And goddamn, so she's like, "Oh no, Annie, no, stay with me, Annie," crying and shit. Annie fucking bleeding, blood all over the damn
Feeling all
bathroom.
guilty. Because I think about like when she's dying like this, I think about like what she was saying in the therapy session, and then like what she was envisioning. It's almost like the Myers has like a curse or like a possession that takes over, but now she's feeling guilty about like wishing she was dead and stuff like that. Like now the reality is here, and she's fucking like devastated, you know.
Yeah, and like, no, it's happening again. No.
The madness is back.
The evil has returned.
I shot him 6 times.
Jesus
Oh
Christ.
man.
Fucking Dr. Loomis.
But Annie's dead for good this time because we actually see her like die in Laurie's arms.
Yeah. And so she's like, white hair glasses girl, fucking call the police. And she's like, okay, she runs outside, she's on a cell phone, she's like, I'm on this street. No, maybe I'm on this street. I don't know. And then
Yeah, it's the worst 911 call. She's like, someone's dead and there's blood everywhere. I don't fucking know.
Yeah. I don't know if she's alive or dead. I don't know. And I don't know where I'm at. This street or that street. And then, yeah, Michael Myers opens the door, drags her ass inside, slams the door, and it's almost similar to the first movie when he drags the one chick back in and the door shuts and
yeah, when he grabbed Annie.
Yeah, when you got that lingering shot on the door, like they don't linger on it as long on this one. But yeah, kills the shit out of white hair glasses girl. And Laurie is like in the bathroom, and I guess Myers is busting it up.
Yeah.
And is this when he grabs her?
I believe no, she gets out of there.
Yeah, she runs out of the house, so Michael goes in and chase. And then Brackett, his some police lady's like, hey, somebody is hurt. We just had a 911 call. And he's like, well, did you dispatch? She's like, yeah, but it's at you. The phone call came from your house. And he's like, oh, shit. So, like, the entire police force fucking drive up to his house and shit. He's running upstairs, and he's like, where is she? He's like, hey, you don't want to see this. You don't want to see this. And so the shit is good on the director's cut, man. He walks up, and he's just like, no, no, no. And he's just crying and shit. Like, you totally believe his acting right here. Like, damn, that's some good-ass acting, Chucky.
Sometimes when he's like, Annie, no, God, it kind of sounds like Michael Scott. No, God, please, no, no.
And boom, flash with the home movie bits, the little Rob Zombie touch of young Danielle Harris playing with a dog.
Yeah, I think it's like Christmas footage, or maybe I'm just mixing it up with House of a Thousand Corpses, but I do remember she's like holding the puppy.
Yeah, playing with the dog. He's like, no, making noises and shit, and he's walking out of there. And fucking, so yeah, now Laurie's just running through the woods, getting lost in the woods and shit.
Yeah, there's a couple of weird shots of like she's running towards the camera, and then it fades and she's closer to the camera. It's like a music video.
It's like the opening of Monty Python's Flying Circus.
Yes, exactly.
Dude running forever and gets to the camera. It's Monty Python's Flying Circus.
What's another thing? She eventually gets in like the dude's car.
Yeah, because she's running around in the woods and she's like, stop, stop. And she sees this car passing by. But I'm like, bitch, you are 80 feet away from the road in a field, and this car is driving at moderate speed. They are not hearing you, and much less seeing you way out in that field. They have somewhere to go, and they keep driving. She gets on the road. She's laying there like, no, I'm on the road, and I'm all alone. And then another guy comes driving up, listening to some killer punk rock. Don't know who it is. Gets out and he's like, oh, I'll help you, da 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 da. Puts her in the car, And then, yeah, here he is, Michael Myers, to kill this other man who was trying to help her out.
Booga booga booga. He kills him, and then I actually really love the shot of him flipping over the car.
Yeah, like he flips the fucking car over like Andre the fucking Giant. Like, god damn, dude.
And it hits the bottom of that little quarry, and I think it's so eerie, her sitting there unconscious while the horn's going off. And
Man, I love the shit out of that, man. That horn is just going, man. Going. Long enough to where like you're like, all right. I had to turn it the fuck
really
down,
good
man.
ending.
It's like, god damn, like this is cool, but fuck.
And then he takes her out. We got a classic, like, universal horror movie monster shot of, like, Michael carrying the girl away, and then we have the two ghost apparitions with him. And I actually don't mind the shot. I like watching the whole Myers family reunite and walk off together, and you got the cool guys don't look at explosions.
Yeah, we're going home.
Screw you guys. I'm going home.
Yeah. So they go to a barn, and they're in the barn, and fucking, he's like, "Is she ready?" She's like, "No, not yet." Fucking little ghost baby Michael holding her down, and then all of a sudden, helicopters and police. We got you surrounded. We got you surrounded. Now I do know that both endings are apparently like sort of drastically different, but like I said, I've never seen the theatrical cut. So
he is brought back to that damn fucking that damn cat barn, and I don't know this in the theatrical cut, but like they do the whole thing where it's like "Say I love you, mommy" and stuff like that, where she's kind of getting possessed.
Mommy,
I forgot how they disposed of Loomis, because the other ending is more memorable, honestly. But I do know that Michael Myers gets stabbed. She like puts the mask back on him and stabs him and says like "goodbye, brother" or something like that. And then it ends.
Really?
That's my memory of it. I literally just like I'm blanking on it, honestly, just because the original ending gives you so much more. Not the original, the director's cut ending, the intended ending gives you more to talk about.
Yeah, like so the theatrical ending is sort of an H2O ending.
I do know that, yeah, Laurie definitely kills Michael by like stabbing him through the chest, like with his own knife or a pipe or something like that.
Damn. And then it just kind of ends, basically a happy ending.
Yeah, it just kind of ends. From my recollection, it just kind of ends from that barn, but I could be wrong. I know we got no comments for the beforehand section, but if you guys want to like refresh on the theatrical ending, let me know if I'm missing any details. But what matters is like Michael doesn't get shot down; he gets stabbed by Laurie.
And you just finished watching it like 2.5 hours ago.
Yeah, and I was also just kind of already doing the cut comparison already, so I should be more up to date on it. But I just really wanted to talk more about the original because number one, he kind of goes down like King Kong. They all do. It's like a fucking Bonnie and Clyde gun ending. And then also you got Loomis's like not so redemption arc. And
what I like is on director's cut ending, right? They're in the barn. We get this "say I love you, mommy," and police are there and shit. And Loomis is just chilling in his hotel room, and he sees it on the news. "Oh, this is Chopper News. They believe Michael Myers has a hostage in this barn." And he's like, "Oh no, I need to go save them." And it's like, I get Loomis there. What I like is that, yeah, it could be looked at like a redemption arc, but it's still selfish because he thinks he can do this to make himself look like a hero, so he has some more shit to write about.
Yeah, like this will get me back on top.
Yeah, they'll love this. Everybody loves a hero.
Yeah, and now that I'm remembering, like the theatrical ending just kind of feels like a retread of the first ending where like Michael, I failed you, blah blah blah, you know.
Because he shows up quick too, man. He's in a hotel somewhere in the city, and he makes it out there in like 30 seconds.
To the Mobile.
And Brackett's like, no, man, what are you doing? He's like, yeah. Brackett punches him in the face, like, thanks for your fucking book, man. And you're ready for like him to be like, okay, I deserve that. And he's like, I have nothing to say to you. And he's like, look, ow, why are you biting my face? God damn, fucking cat, man.
Kitty.
But he's like, yeah, I'll draw him out. He'll only listen to me. And he's like, no, you stay, you get back to your hotel or whatever. He's like, okay, I can walk from here. And I like the shot, dude, because it cuts to fucking Brackett like standing there getting on the little loudspeaker. And you see fucking Dr. Loomis just running behind him.
Just sneak it.
Yeah, and he runs up to the door. He's got his hands out. They're like, get away from there. He's like, no, I can draw him out. And he walks in there, and yeah, he gets the, I failed you, Michael. You've got to stop this. And Laurie's like freaking out. She's like, they won't let me go. And he's like, Laurie, no one's holding you. No one's holding you. It's all in your mind. And she's just like laying down on the ground, pitching a fit. And
there's nobody there. Somebody fucked with those tapes, Laurie. It's not real.
Yeah. So fucking now Myers and Loomis bust out of the cabin, and Myers is like, fucking, I can stop this. Just put down the knife. And he's like, die. There it is, everybody. Just applause all over the place. Michael's first words. Woo. Die.
They grow up so fast, man. They grow up so fast. Literally. Are you a giant?
Like, oh my god. Stabs old Loomis, and Loomis falls over. Yeah. Die. Like, really?
There's nothing you have him say that won't be horribly generic, because if Michael is to speak, you imagine it would be like a one-word thing or like something small. But what else could he say? Like, anything would suck. He's meant to be silent. Like, I could imagine, like, what he says, I hate you. Like, what?
Yeah, like, man, fuck you, Dr. Loomis. Stab, stab, stab.
What if he just still had the little kid voice? I'm not listening.
This is for Elvis.
In memory of Elvis.
But yeah, there's nothing he could have said. To make a character, like we said earlier, to make a character that's always known to be silent is jarring. Having him make grunt noises and say a word, but at the same time, I don't hate it because this is different. And like I've said all along this podcast, this series has done more stupid, outlandish, dumb shit than this movie ever could do. Like, the shit in this movie is outlandish and it can get pretty damn dumb, but it's more interesting as opposed to some of the dumb, outlandish shit I've seen in the other sequels that feature Michael Myers, excluding Season of the Witch, because that one I love as much as this. Like, it's so outlandish and shit in its own right, but that's a story for another day. But yeah, anything he could have said would have just been dumb.
Perspective.
Huh?
When we eventually do the Halloween, like, as a whole retrospective.
Yeah. But yeah, anything he could have said would have been stupid. So, like, whatever. He just says, die! But it's like, damn, why are you telling him to die before you killed him? It would have been funny if he said that with every kill.
Die! It's with Octavia Spencer. And
yeah, every time he hits her with a knife, die!
It's like Corey Feldman in the fucking Friday the 13th. Die! What's it called? He does like this funny little rave chicken dance when he's getting shot and his beard swinging back and forth.
Yeah, man, like fucking, and then yeah, they just fucking Jason Goes to Hell his ass.
Yeah, the only thing that's missing is the explosion and his head flying up and the beard just
yeah, just do. Just everybody shooting him. Everybody fucking shooting him. But it also it reminds me too of the ending of is it Halloween 4? Where he's like at a barn and shit, and they're all shooting. Like, all the police show up at the barn.
Yeah, and
Or
they shoot him down the well.
yeah.
I think that's
Also,
Halloween 4.
yeah, because like at the beginning of Halloween 5, it shows him kind of like fall through a creek bed, and this old man gets him. Has Frankenstein vibes all the way.
Right, right. But they
But yeah,
kill him off, and then does Lori wear the mask?
no, and from what I recollect here, she kind of walks out through the hole and picks up the knife and
That's what
starts
she does. She grabs the knife.
huh?
That's what she does. I was forgetting if she wore the mask or took the knife. I remember she walked out with something that made them like open fire on her.
Yeah, she grabs the knife and starts walking to Loomis's body, and then yeah, they start shooting her. Do 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 do, and she's laying down, and then we get that slow "Love Hurts." Which here's a thing that we can blame this on. I don't know who does that version of that Tears for Fears song, Mad World, but there's that slow version of Mad World that was in Donnie Darko. We can blame that on everyone taking songs and just slowing them up and turning them into like melancholy kind of songs. So we get this fucking slow love hurts. Oh, but I did want to mention when Sheriff Brackett is like freaking out over his dead daughter. It's playing this weird music with like this chick vocalizing, and it sounds a lot like the beginning of that Orbital song Halcyon that
Mm,
was at the end of Mortal Kombat and the beginning of Hackers.
yeah. Yeah, dude.
I kept waiting for a doom 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 doom
Which
doom.
would be so off, like in the middle of the death scene.
That would have been fucking stupid.
Funeral.
Oh, but yeah, so it's playing this slow love hurts, ooh, like fucking. Then
Cameras
like
going up into the sky.
yeah, and then we get this nice sterile white asylum with a long hallway, slowly going up to Lori, and then we see what Lori sees, and it's Ghost Mom with the horse walking walking through the damn asylum. Um, and it's like, oh, okay, there's the horse. There's the white horse.
Girl who likes white horses.
Fucking goodbye, horses.
They should have played that. Yeah, if only.
Yeah.
Silence of the Lambs, but you know what? Fuck it. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
So you get Mama Myers and Baby Myers and the horse, and she smiles, and like you said, it's that
That
Malcolm
creepy stare.
McDowell Clockwork Orange smile. But I always associated that with the ending of Psycho when
Yeah,
they
definitely. They should have had like a little skull fade into her face.
yeah. But I totally get what you mean by saying
Clockwork
Clockwork.
Orange. Well, yeah,
And
because I was thinking because immediately with the Malcolm McDowell comparison.
yeah, and then the Kubrick kind of shit, because that like there's some real like
In Rob Zombie's career, like we said in the music videos, like he definitely loves the Kubrick angles and the wide shots and the close ups and the
yeah.
close ups and the other things. You know, they like them all.
And so then like the end, and it makes you wonder. Like, I'll always say like the director's cut version. This is the real version of the movie. That's why I haven't seen the theatrical one. I'm like, this is the one the director intended everyone to see.
So that's got to be in Laurie's mind, and is that like the last thing she sees before she dies? Because she's dead.
Yeah, is she dead? And this is like Mama coming to take her home. Did
Yeah,
she
that's what
survive?
it.
One of the earlier times I saw this movie, I thought she had survived, and they put her in a mental institution. But I'm like, that wouldn't make sense because why would her room be like this long?
Exactly, unless they did, and this is just what she's seeing. Because I can't rule out that she would survive a shooting because, hey, the fucking Firefly family did.
Right? For real. We gotta get a damn Michael Myers 3 from hell. Damn, but yeah, so like it leaves a lot of weird shit up for interpretation. So it's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure she did.
Yeah, she did.
Maya, no, it's the Maya's family reunion.
They're all with Elvis. The little kid Michael should have had like Elvis in the afterworld.
Yeah. So that fucking horse. Like, what, are the three of y'all gonna ride this horse?
The White Rat.
Yeah.
His name is Gerald. He's getting kind of old, but he's a good mouse.
Yeah,
They're all off to the great gig in the sky.
we've had a Sid Barrett and a Roger Waters reference in today's episode.
Yeah, and dude, so not only with that, with them going to the great gig in the sky, the sad thing is it's the Redux version.
Oh my god.
So it's you're in that white room and it's a long hallway and you're just hearing Roger Waters' narration on loop.
Just talking about nothing. When
Dude,
I heard money,
reading his
when
letters.
I heard redux of money, I was like, all right, this is interesting. Slowed down version, different music going on. Okay. But then, like, we get 3 minutes of, like, what are you talking about? Boxing? The fuck is this?
He does the classic line, "Welcome to hell."
Like, oh my God. I was
Let
like,
me
yeah,
say that
good job
again.
fucking up one of the greatest albums of all time, Roger.
Yeah, we were almost there. Like, I don't hate it entirely, but yeah, there is some stuff where it's like, if the talking was just out of this part, like, I could be a little more in for
God, there's no reason for money to be over 7 minutes long. In the original 3-ish, 4-ish minutes, you get the point across. I don't need a 4-minute fucking diatribe of you telling me about bankers and shit and boxing and shut the fuck up,
it.
Roger.
Dude, I think we got to do a new review. I think we got to bring back the old format
Man.
because there's a lot to talk about with that one because it has its ups and downs, but like the downs, man, are systems of downs.
System of many downs.
System of the waters.
Oh my God. But yeah, so that is Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
And you know what? You know, seeing the back and forth, and also just from rewatching it a bunch of times, I don't hate it. I definitely don't hate it.
I love the shit out of it. Like, even there's the dumb shit and the little questionable shit, like everything else about this movie just elevates it. To me, I like it more than his Halloween 1. I like this more than most of the original Halloween sequels before and after. Well, you know what? I can't say after. That's a lie because I have yet to see the David Gordon Green Halloweens, but to tell you the truth, they don't look good.
Yeah, they started off on good footing, and then they just
Already it's like we're doing H2O again, but it's H4O.
All right, so scratch that. Maybe not the best of footing.
All right, and it's like, we're ignoring all the sequels again. Why now without the brother and sister angle? Now you just got an old man, a 67-year-old man going back to a lady he has absolutely no connection to. Like, why?
Yeah, so that's the weird thing too, is that they have to now explain that since Michael is his own entity killing for no reason, they're like, well, fuck, now we got to contrive reasons for, like, you know what I mean? I'm not going to spoil it for when you eventually, but there are people in the plot who kind of like divert Michael's path to get to Laurie. There's like external factors where, you know,
So it's not like he's sitting in this institution for 40 years going, I got to get that babysitter.
No, like he's just sitting there. There is one interesting line that one of the guys says is like, he can speak, he just chooses not to. And it's like, so you never actually see him speak, but it's like, oh, that's interesting. So there was a moment where Michael talked, and he can if he wants to, but he just really doesn't
Which is
fucking.
like, do we really need that explanation?
I just thought it was an interesting little, because that's when you're first seeing him again. Because these fucking podcasters, all right, there's a little spoiler for you. It opens up on two true crime podcasters wanting to speak to Michael, and they actually let them in. So you get to see like him. You don't see his face, but he's maskless sitting out there in the courtyard, and that's when his
Yeah, I saw that
psychologist.
in the trailer where they show him the mask and like everyone in the institution's like
Yeah,
freaking out.
that's
Shit.
basically that's right before the opening credits, and it is pretty cool, but a little silly. Where he's like, "Say something, Michael," and the psychologist they have is definitely meant to be a fill-in of Loomis. His name is Sartain, and he's kind of like, "Oh yes, I've been looking. I was Loomis's protege, and I happened to speak and talk just like him."
Jesus Christ.
And Laurie straight up says it at some point. She's like, "Oh, Sartain, so you're the new Loomis, eh?" And everyone in the audience is like, "Ah, ah."
There it is. Oh.
No, I just looked over Michael afterwards. Yeah, dude, I'll take Malcolm McDowell being a douchebag over that. Like, I'll stop talking about the new movies. I'll let you get to it, but Sartain is a pretty shitty character when you get to him.
Yeah, I can believe it. But yeah, this movie is great. Like all the way through. Like, I like how it leaves me questioning shit. Like, what does this mean? I like how it doesn't necessarily spell shit out for you. I like the changes all the characters went through between films because it's believable as opposed to other movies where the final girl shows back up. It's normally back to life as normal. They kind of try to do final girl trauma in Scream, but at the same time, it's like, like in Scream 2, like you don't really. It's like, okay, yeah, all right. So Sydney's like trying to go back, but like everyone's acting normal again, and even her, like,
It's
uh,
Hollywood trauma. You know, they even did it in H2O where it's like their idea of trauma is like her having a couple of nightmares and then like drinking wine.
yeah. And then they do it too on Scream 3, where it's like, oh, now she lives in the woods with high security and she has caller ID.
Really revving up the security.
All right, and fucking yeah. So like, the other final girl trauma is like not really any. There's no real change except for, yeah, just look at me. There's one thing I'm doing differently.
Yeah, no, Lori did a whole 180 switch, and whether you like it or not, like, don't throw any shade towards Scout Taylor Compton because that was one of the biggest notes coming out of this. Is I really fucking appreciate her as an actress,
Yeah,
and
hardcore performance, man.
yeah, and her relationship with Daniel Harris, how their friendship developed just on set as well. Like I said, like I think she just turned 18, like when they filmed the first one. So like, and Daniel Harris very much like became almost like a not just a friend, but also like a mentor since she's been acting since she was little, you know. And
Yeah,
so it shows on screen, you know what I mean? So you could say what you will about Laurie if you don't like the interpretation of the character, but got to appreciate just like again even just the physical acting like we were talking about at the beginning like
and too, like it's a more interesting portrayal of the character as opposed to what they always did with Lori when they would bring her back in Jamie Lee Curtis. It was like, boom, she's a badass, you
and
know.
I think it's Minerva that she dressed up as from Rocky Horror Picture Show, the maid, and that kind of is like her own little clown costume now. I kind of that cosplay fit her really well with the wig. I'm trying to remember the characters' names in Rocky Horror Picture Show other than Frankenfurter and the main crew. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, there's a lot of creativity in this movie. Sometimes it's like I don't want to say misguided. It's like it just doesn't have anywhere really to go because it's still under this studio system. There's more slack in the chain, but the chain is still on. And
Yeah,
then
it's like the white horse shit is dumb as fuck. and doesn't really do anything. It doesn't help the plot at all. Does it? There's no. We could go without this white horse shit and
Yeah, you
still
don't
have the
make an
ghost
edit
mom
of the movie.
apparitions and all that.
You can make
Even
sure
the psychic connection bits that could we could do without all that because it's not even really done all that well for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I could take out all that and you can keep all the weird vision that could just be part of her trauma. Like I don't need some weird psychic connection. He eats a dog and she throws up.
Yeah, just kind of, it's a little overstuffed. Like you said, a little overkill.
Yeah, like I'm cool with the little visions. They're weird as fuck, but whatever. We're here.
But with that, that's our little post Halloween jam for you. Just in case you were a little sad that Halloween was still over, not looking forward to Thanksgiving. I mean, I am. And I want to watch the Eli Roth movie soon. That looks fucking great. But
Yeah. I want to see Thanksgiving.
here's a little second helping of Halloween for you guys. I mean, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. This was definitely a long one, and it was the most interesting discussion we've had on Rob Zombie so far, just because you really have to dig into the studio side of things, and you have to look into Rob Zombie himself a little bit just to be like, what was your mindset on this one? And sometimes he really is like, I'm gonna just throw it at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah, because this is really where you can look at, especially in retrospect, where you can look at his career and be like, okay, this is the Rob Zombie style. Like, fucking, a lot of what he did in this movie carries over, especially when you get to his next feature film, not the cartoon, but Lords of Salem. Whereas, like that one bleeds the Kubrick shit. And he goes hard on the more psychological weird shit, but it's more like I love the shit out of Lords of Salem, but we got to talk about the cartoon next.
Which I think is going to be a fun one because it's not one that people talk about a lot, and it's not really a lot of people's favorites, which I get, but I personally just, and I don't even really know why. This will be interesting to think about in the next week, and why I particularly love El Super Beasto so much, and why it's up there on my Rob Zombie movie list, actually, just for the absurdity of it. So. But then after that, it gets really exciting because I haven't watched any of the Rob Zombie movies post El Super Beasto.
So you haven't seen Lords of Salem or 31
or 3 from Hell. The only like modern, the only one that I was lying about was I have seen the Munsters, but that's about it.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about the fucking Munsters, dude. I can't wait to talk about all of them, but I can't wait to get to the fucking Munsters.
That's how we cap it off.
Yeah.
Think about that. We open on House of a Thousand Corpses and we end on Munsters.
Yeah. But shit, y'all. I guess that's it.
That's it for today, guys. But make sure, listen, don't leave us hanging next time. I'm fucking watching you guys. We're gonna make a post, and I want to hear what you guys think. And if not, I'm gonna send fucking psychic Sherry Moon Zombie to do like some Living Dead girl shit outside your door.
Yeah, moan ghostly in the wind,
making scary sounds.
Yeah. But yeah, so I guess if you're not doing anything next Sunday, we can try and shoot for next Sunday.
Fuck yeah.
For El Super Beasto.
Which I guess is kind of Halloween-y in its own right, but yeah, we're kind of moving on into different they're all horror movies, so it's always going to be kind of a Halloween vibe around here.
Yeah, but luckily they all still they hit in that fall vibe.
Right. But until then, eat lots of turkey, guys. Hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And yeah, we'll fucking catch you guys on the next one.
Yeah, we'll talk to y'all later.
Later.